touch the screen, I think. We got a touch screen on this one, right? I guess there's no other page. Okay, I'll wait for Mary to sit down. Let's get this work session moving. Roll call, please.
Lear.
Here.
Pasanello.
Present.
Hager. Here. Larson.
Here.
Schneider. Ramirez. Here. Morris.
Here.
Okay, let's start off with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda, we had a special election in which Councilwoman Mary Ramirez was elected. We're having the swearing in of the oath, so if we can have that done.
Yes, it is. God save us all.
Why not?
I solemnly swear
I solemnly swear
to uphold the Constitution of the United States
to uphold the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Virginia,
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Virginia,
and to faithfully and impartially discharge all the duties incumbent upon me as a member of the Haymarket Town Council
as a member of the Haymarket Town Council
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
No, you can have a vote.
All right, yeah. Now you can vote.
Now we recognize your
And I
votes.
haven't, I want to thank you. I haven't recognized you. Your name?
Jackie Smith, I'm the clerk of the circuit court.
Okay, it was Jackie from the Clerk of the Circuit Court. Thank you for coming out and doing this for us.
Thank you, Jackie.
Okay, we'll move on to the agenda items. I think there's a item that was missed on here. If I don't have any objections, I'd like to add Mary's presentation for, what would I title that as, Mary?
I'm sorry?
There's a presentation you wanted to give?
Yes, the Haymarket Community Service Days. We can just briefly title that.
Okay, if there are any objections, we will add that as the first item on this agenda. Any objections?
None.
Okay. Mary,
All
take it away.
Yay.
See the lights or something?
Yes, please. Thank you, Chris.
You want them?
Okay, so I would like to propose as like a community outreach effort that we do a spring and fall community service called Haymarket Days of Giving. The proposed timeline for the spring event would be April 23rd. And starting January 1st, you would see that we would start the application process to begin for both service projects and service teams. So what we would be doing is having an application process where people apply to be part of a team, or they apply to have projects done, whether it be at their home, their business, whatever that's in town, they can apply to have these things done. And then up until the event date starting on January 1, we would be recruiting sponsors, and that's who I hope would mostly help with our efforts to maybe provide gloves for people doing landscaping or rakes or things like that. And then we could advertise the event and really get it rolling. I do want to say, this slide didn't pop up, but I was inspired by the big event at Virginia Tech, because when I was campaigning, I had a couple of people mention random little things, and it made me think, like, how could we get more involved? And so I was speaking to our wonderful town planner about it, and she had mentioned the big event at Virginia Tech when she was there, and they have a lot of like Greek organizations and different clubs and things sign up to participate, and then the school kind of facilitates and matches teams to projects, and people in the community can apply to have these projects done for them. Can we go back? Thank you. Then once we get all the applications in, we get some sponsorships, we're advertising. Starting in March, between March and April, I myself would take this on, I'd be the champion of it, and if I could, if the council agrees, to allow one of the staff members to be an assistant, to help pair the projects with the teams. And we would also do site visits to make sure that, one, it's a realistic project that we could get done in just that day, two, that it's accessible and safe for our teams and things like that. And then we would talk with the team leads about, what kind of supplies may be needed. And then on the day of, I kind of wanted to see what the council's idea was, whether we would like to do like a tiny celebration where we have like a stage, or if we wanted to do something a little bit bigger for Earth Day. That's obviously going to be up to council's discretion. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so the service teams, they would apply to work whatever project we pair them with. The team lead would be the point of contact, and then they would be expected to arrive on time and to complete the task as complete as they could, given the time constraints of just one day. And then the town applicant with the need, they would file an application to us saying they have a need. They would accept responsibility for like the major tools. So if they needed help painting a shed or whatever, they would provide the paint, they would provide the rollers, they would provide those things. And that would be made clear when they go through the application process. They would make sure that the project space is accessible, and they must remain on site the whole day. So that would be a set expectation as well. A responsibility for the town or myself and a staff member, if council agrees that that's okay, would be that we review the applications, we would do the site visits, we'd coordinate the teams with the projects. We would also schedule a trash and landscaping debris pickup with Republic Service, and we would provide small basic tools. And that's the hope of what I hope sponsorships would cover, like I said, gloves and rakes and things. Okay. Possible examples, I do want to note that in the application process, because I know tech does offer indoor and outdoor opportunities, we could allow people in the application process to state whether they're comfortable working indoors or not. And we would make clear that anybody who applies for an indoor project knows that this may not be a possibility. We may have to hold off until, the pandemic has settled down a bit more or more people are comfortable and vaccinated. But other options are, like landscaping, minor repairs, clearing debris, painting, or helping moving items. Whether, again, indoor, outdoor, it's up to people's comforts. Restrictions. These are based off of the Virginia Tech restrictions. The service teams would be available for the event day only. Indoor projects would require special attention, especially because of the COVID thing. That would need special attention in the waiver if that's something that council agrees and supports. The project applicant is responsible for anything beyond basic tools, again, like paints, rollers, lumber, those kinds of things. There will be no power tools, so no saw, no, electric saws or drills or lawn mowers or anything like that. We're not going to be doing that. And there will be no rain date. So this is the one day if it doesn't happen, that's unfortunately, we'll have to hold off until the fall. And then if somebody decides, you know what, I don't really want to do it, we would have a set deadline. I put an example of April 10th, but we can adjust that as council sees fit. The role of the town, as I said, I would reach out to sponsors, we would advertise the event, review applications, delegate teams, communicate with team leads and applicants for the projects. And then I myself and staff who's helping me would be there the day of just to help me make sure that everybody has their needs fulfilled or questions answered. And then sponsors, they would have this unique ability to really help us get this brand new project up and running. So, donating funds, donating tools, and they can also help us in advertising. All right, so this is a point of discussion where I would like to start. How would someone apply? Again, this would be through hopefully a website or whatever you guys see fit. If the website's too difficult for us to figure out, maybe we could do the SurveyMonkey or a Google Doc that we do a QR code for. Whatever you guys or staff feel like would be most effective, I'm happy to work within that. Will waivers be required? And yes, every single person filling out an application will need to fill out a waiver, and I'm hoping to get a directive to work with Martin on finalizing an appropriate waiver for both the people who want to do service projects and the people who need service projects done. So again, I think that that's going to be essential for liability and just to make the rules very clear and direct. So that's the goal. And then what are site visits? Site visits will be where I or staff or both look at the project site and evaluate just how large of a project it is, if we need 1 or 2 teams to do it, make sure that it's safe, and answer any questions that the applicant may have for us in person. All right, and this would be kind of an open floor kind of thing for us, would be, is council interested in having the Earth Day event on the same day? There was mention of possible like a shred event, or seeing if vendors or activities or stage would be worthwhile. I do want to note that just 2 weeks after that, I think the Community Gardens group, they wanted to have an event as well. So since this would be the first time, I would kind of err on the side of keeping it focused on just the service and just a small little, hey, thank you for coming out, hey, kind of thing. But I'm happy to accommodate what the council thinks is best. If they think that, or if you guys think that it would be best for us to make this a bigger thing, I'm happy to work within that and do my best to do that as well. And also, given that, would the town like to fund a certain portion, whether it be like t-shirts or the stage rental or extra porta potties for the vendor, or not, I'm sorry, the vendors, for the volunteers? These are just things that I would like to discuss with council. And yep, alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. By Helen Keller. All right, thank you guys. And Emily, can you pop back over to the discussion page so everyone can look at it if they have points that thank you, that's perfect. Nope. Next one. Please. Thoughts, concerns?
Would there be a possibility for projects to be recommended, like somebody can nominate somebody?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I think the best way for that to happen would be for that person to send the application to the project person, like Does that make sense? So like if you knew of a business or a resident who could really use some help, be like, hey, we're having this event, please fill this out. Because again, like I said, they would be required to fill out a waiver. So that would require their permission for us to be on their property and to, you know, allow people to provide a service for them.
It looks like you're trying to target the 23rd, or is this going to be some type of ongoing?
So the service day will be one day in spring and then one day in fall. So those will be the only days of service. But obviously leading up to it, it will take a lot of behind the scenes work and coordination and things. And I'm happy to take that on. I think that this is, personally, I love philanthropy. So this is kind of really like sparks the joy in me for this town. And I really think that there are needs that maybe people might not feel comfortable asking for help with if it's not a kind of one of those things where people are like, hey, give us something to do, give us something to do, you know? So I hope that that's what this will be able to do. Yes, Bob?
Just my 2 cents. Experience dictates that you either have an event or you have a service day. You don't have both.
Okay.
So while having the shred event is probably ties in with the purpose of the service day, having vendors and stages and everything else will just simply detract from the scope of what you're trying to do. And we've had this happen before. And then it's more of a party than what your purpose is. So I would suggest not even going with the stage and the vendors and that. Focus it on the service. The shred I think is fine because that sort of ties into it.
Okay.
And have it on Earth Day, I would suggest, and you know.
Well, Earth Day's the Friday. This would be the Saturday after Earth Day.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
In a way to support and make mention of the sponsors, we could tie that into the newsletter or the website.
Yeah, absolutely. And in our advertisement as well, give a shout out. Yeah, that's where I was thinking T-shirts might be good just to show off the sponsorship and also for people to kind of have that point of pride, like, hey, I did this and this was awesome, like a memento. But again, I'm not set on T-shirts. I'm not set on anything. I just wanted to bring.
You know, it's something that can evolve too, right? That it can start out this way, and then as it gets bigger.
Yeah. I'm assuming right now you're just presenting a concept, so
Yes.
you haven't gotten any type of financials or anything you want to do.
Nope.
Any questions on financials? Financial committee members? Well, we're all committee members, but liaisons,
Not at this point.
not at this point.
I mean, like Bob says, you got to see the numbers. Can we go back to the beginning? Presentation. Chris, do you have questions before I get started?
No, I just have a concern. It has to do with the taxation on staff's time, but I'm sure that's something that will be mitigated as we go through. So it's not, I don't think it's a concern more, it's just to be aware of it.
No, I appreciate that.
It's a fair observation. Well, I have a fence in the back, so.
I think there is a rule there, it cannot be done for sitting
There
council
are
members.
To be filled
there are
in
no
behind my
rules. If
house,
you need help and you are in town,
They need help.
sign up.
The key word is
I'm
need.
not going to sit here and evaluate people's
whitewashing your
financials
fence,
to
Tom
decide what
Sawyer.
their need is.
That's what I was thinking. All right, so let's just talk a little bit about Virginia Tech and what they do, right?
The second slide had a little video where you could see, you know, them handing out gloves, and it was, oh, there it is. Yay. There it
Check
is.
that out.
It's
That's all
okay.
No, just,
Yeah,
how
just
long
give
is it? How long
whatever
is
you
it?
want to
Minute
do.
and 30 seconds, I think.
A minute and 30? Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So, I just want to add that one of the things, and this kind of speaks to Bob's point, and Mary and I spoke about this, is Virginia Tech does it in the sense that they have thousands of students who, we volunteer for this to live out Oot Prism. So, this would be more of an event that's coupled with a service day, whereas when we talked, Mary and I did, it was more of let's focus on the homeowners right here in our town who need the service. So what Tech does is they go out to Christiansburg, Blacksburg, and any really of the surrounding Montgomery County, and they will do things like painting fences, painting walls, leaves, light landscaping, things of that nature. But depending on the size of your project, they will assign you a certain size team. Sometimes it's a whole fraternity goes in and they do a whole landscaping project for a business. Sometimes it's the group of 3 or 4 young women who just want to go help and they're painting a wall. So there's a lot of different service projects, but everybody applies. You have a whole application program, and to do the actual service day, you are requested to apply, sign the waiver that you're going to volunteer, and you do your part to sign your waivers and your liability notices. So, a lot of opportunity. Definitely, they've been doing it for a lot of years, and you would start small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this looks like it's a combination of an event and
So what they
the
do
community
is,
service.
in the morning, they start you off, say, 8 a.m., and it's a huge pep rally, get you excited, get you awake after, a long night, and so you have donuts and games and things like that, and then they send you off like at 9 o'clock, you do your service day, and when you come back and drop everything off, most times they'd still have an event going for you in the evening, so you had a picnic, and they made it a whole community thing for the day. They also would do projects around the drill field, so some groups would never leave the Tech campus. They would do different projects around campus, and they could go there all day and have fun.
Comments?
Please.
Yeah.
Sure.
So one of the big challenges, as you all know, in town is getting volunteers. So I'm just curious, what's the selection criteria? Who's your base for volunteers? Who are you thinking about? Because in this case, I can see where community volunteerism, what have you, is tied into the whole structure of the university. So what's the base for that kind of a volunteer community that might be available for this?
I love your question. Thank you for asking. So I really thought deeply about it, and I've already met with Rotary Club. They've already done like a small community service project with me, and they actually have an outreach to like Battlefield high schools. Oh my goodness, I forget the title. I'm sorry?
It's the Interact Club.
Interact Club, that's what it is. There's Interact Club, they have the school government alliance or whatever, SGA or thing. They have various different community service groups in just the high school. So I would reach out to the principal of the local high school, so that would be Battlefield, Gainesville. I mean, we could even reach out to Patriot as well if we wanted. National Honor Society certainly requires credits. I know when I went to Green Hill Crossings Fall Festival during campaigning, they mentioned that they have children who need service hours for college applications. So we would then reach out to the HOAs as well, not just for volunteers, but also for projects, I think would be a really great thing to do. Emily brought up a really great point of offering businesses the opportunity to volunteer. I know there's some real estate businesses that may want to go out there and volunteer. I know that our community is so much larger than just the town, but to start, I want the projects to focus on just the town of Haymarket. But I do want to ask, the Flower and Garden Club would probably love to come out and spend the day out volunteering in the area. They would love to be in the town. They've told me themselves. So, then that's just a few that come right off the bat. So I don't think that volunteers would be necessarily that difficult, especially with scouts, from Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts. My goodness, there's just so many organizations, and especially because of COVID, they're really eager to get service projects in.
Right.
So,
Oh, that's good. I mean, it sounds like you have a good population, mostly from outside town, maybe some from inside town.
yeah.
So what about the selection criteria for projects? What's that going to be like? I mean, what are the bases for that kind of a decision, the criteria? Is it going to be need-based only? Is it going to be individuals? Is it going to be businesses? Is it community-related, like, you know, the park or something like that?
So
Do we have needs in the park? Just kidding.
I'm of the thought, my intention was to accept anything at this point, because we're just starting out. See, I mean, if it's something as small as my neighbor who is wheelchair bound and cannot get up the stairs, maybe he needs help bringing things down from upstairs, you know, something like that. And it sounds really small, but it makes a huge difference in his life. So I was going to open it up to residents, to businesses, to the town, if we can find projects for people to do, you know, obviously with Martin's aid, with the waivers and limitations, he can help walk us through that and establish what's appropriate, what's safe, et cetera, et cetera. I would really need to rely on Martin for those kind of boundaries to set. But I didn't have any criteria in mind. I would certainly, I don't want to discourage anyone from asking for help, so.
So it sounds like we're facilitating, we're kind of like the broker or facilitating this, like a communication link and trying to identify those folks that have a need.
Yeah,
or
I
at
would,
least help facilitate that. Is that what I'm hearing?
that's my intention, yes.
Yeah.
And I feel like the project application process, that what we can accept and what we can do is going to be based on the number of volunteers that we have, right?
Sure.
So,
Yeah, and that's when, in the timeline, I said, like, up until a certain date, we would accept applications. So if, you know, we don't have enough projects, we as a town can decide, oh, do we want to give them small projects within our ability on our properties? We can evaluate that. Obviously, that would be up for council's discussion and discretion. But, yeah, if we don't have enough projects, then we don't have enough projects, but we can certainly keep in mind, you know, the groups that wanted to do something that couldn't. And so maybe if down the line we find something, we can reach out to those groups, and I would keep those contacts, right? And we can get them involved in other ways, whether it's volunteering for Haymarket Day or, you know, things like that, you know, like they're eager to serve, and let's help them do that. And they may be able to help more at the community garden thing too. We could ask them to come and help there. We can, I mean, there's a lot of options, so.
Yeah, and I see this concept growing for brokering. Right now, I think the target is strictly 2 days out of the year, right?
Yes.
The fall and the spring. Depending on the success of this, it might end up growing. So if you keep that in mind, right?
Sure. I mean, I want to start with April. And then hopefully, I figured in the beginning of November, we all kind of sit there and go, oh, we should winterize things. So, and then we get a to-do list before the holidays. So I figured that would be a good time, early November. But right now I'm focused on April and just getting this baby started. So.
So what are you looking from us right now? Did you just want to make this a concept and say we're interested in it and allow you to move forward, or?
Yeah, I would love to see if council would support this, and I would also love to get a directive to work with Martin on starting the waivers, because like I said, I would like to start the application process in the beginning of January, so that's coming up pretty quickly.
Is the waiver something that we can just copy from somewhere else instead of, you know, billing the town from the attorney's perspective? I don't think it's something we need to go through Martin to get, for him to then charge us to write a waiver. I'm serious, man, because I've got my eyes on the budget for the town attorney. So
It's
For
like-
initial legwork, I think we need to kind of compile together a packet.
Bro, it's been 6
And
years.
then once we
Get
say
used
we're
to
at
it.
that point, then maybe introduce Martin to it.
Yeah.
Okay, I could.
Maybe
reach
whenever
out
he's
to-
here one day, while he's here double tasking, while he's here sitting at a meeting, we just slip him the paper and say, hey, can you review this? And he doesn't charge us
Bingo.
for it.
I couldn't agree more,
Yeah.
you know, I mean,
Get 5 papers, slip it to him.
I mean, we may be
If
talking.
you're watching, it's them, not me this time.
I think we might be talking about something later where he wasn't given the opportunity to review some documentation, and that's why we're going to have this discussion later. But it's important for him to at least put eyes on it to make sure
Yes.
we're okay with it. But I agree with you. I mean, there are templates out there. This stuff is already
He doesn't
done.
need to draft it.
Right. Because I got that down, Martin, legal costs. You know, it's already here.
I
So
don't
you
even
guys
have to
would
write,
like
I don't
me-
even have to write it. But it just,
So just so
I
I'm
didn't need a
clear,
note on
would
that
you
one.
guys like me to draft up a template or collect templates and hash it out with you, or, because
You can bring
I,
that back next week, yeah, that'd be great.
okay,
I mean,
okay.
but
Can
I
you
maybe,
reach out to these folks?
yeah, and sometimes you don't even have to
Yeah, I would
redesign
I'll
it.
reach out to
Sometimes
them.
they may have it already.
Yeah.
Or
Well,
other
and-
towns. Other towns may have it already, it's just a blank thing just to say that they're not, the town is not responsible if I injure myself cutting my finger when I'm, you know.
Sure, but I think we also will want to include something about, the property owner's not responsible for volunteers being injured, volunteers aren't responsible for any
Insurance.
property being damaged, because, you know what I mean, that would kind of keep the playing field simple and safe for everybody. So obviously, it can't just be like, oh, the town's not liable, but I'm happy to reach out to tech and see if I could get in contact with their, legal team or something.
Yeah, and I would also kind of like to understand what our liabilities are. If we sponsor this,
Yeah,
are we
it's not
required to
looking
have a
good.
medical supervision of any sort in the area?
We have
while
a
this is
hospital right there.
performing? Well, you know what I mean.
Sure,
Some type of
sure.
EMT setup. So would we have to look at getting Station 4, recruiting some volunteers for that day or something like that? Because I'm sure there would have to be some type of medical support if we're sponsoring this event.
Boy Scouts may even have one. Have a waiver. Could they do a
Oh, okay,
public-
okay. Perfect.
It's not as simple as yeah. I'll send everybody an email.
Okay. You don't want to,
Enforceability is.
I don't want to spend an hour talking about this.
Okay.
Virginia's a little weird on waivers apparently, especially with respect to liability.
okay.
Yep, and I know the moment we are deemed a sponsor, we become liable for a lot of crap that
Yeah.
we're not familiar with.
Even though we've
ourselves.
got an umbrella policy.
So you guys would still like me to reach out to tech since they are Virginia?
Actually, you want to reach out to jurisdictions because municipal governments have different requirements than the university does.
Okay.
Are there other?
I'm sure there are, but
So would it be better to talk to Martin since he's,
Cha-ching.
I mean, you guys want to save money, but,
I do some basic research first with jurisdictions in
okay.
the Commonwealth.
Could you help me with that, Bob, since you know where to search?
Yes.
Thank you.
Get that down.
Bob's
Bob
helping.
says yes.
I've whispered yes.
Thank you, Bob. Did anybody, would council support this endeavor?
Yeah,
The waiver question is going to weigh heavily on my decision. I mean, that's the only fly in the ointment that I'm immediately seeing.
Okay.
I mean,
That's
it
a-
seems
that's
like
a fair one.
you've thought about costs to a certain extent, and, the individual requesting it is basically responsible for the overall cost, whatever that may be,
Yeah.
tools, materials, things of that nature.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the individuals, if they're going to be able to bring their own tools or whatever. That's something you might want to think about. But, yeah, I mean, conceptually, I think it's great. I've always felt that it was important to have volunteer days as much as possible. It's just difficult getting volunteers consistently.
Yeah. I hear
That's
that.
the challenge.
I think it's a great idea.
Yes, I'm in full support. I mean, I've always wanted to get a better community outreach here in which we do get citizens engaged, where next thing you know, this just starts to snowball into where we do have a nice list of applicants for ARB and PC and, other contributions, where we do have a civic-minded community here as opposed to just a community that wants to be transit and live solely within their own family.
Yep.
Totally, totally.
Thank you. Okay, cool. Thank you, guys.
Okay. We'll move on to the next item then, the monthly financial report.
Good evening, council. Does anyone, before I start, have any questions on the reports in front of
I've
you?
got one.
Yes.
Can you just confirm that we're not on the hook for the town election cost for November? And that's 3,000 in savings, correct?
That, I can confirm that.
Okay.
The town manager confirmed that, yeah, he received that information.
So the county's gonna eat that?
Yes.
Should, yeah.
Well, the one thing I do want to talk about in this report, something new. During the finance committee last week, I believe, the discussion was to why not share, kind of give you guys a details on what the CARES Act funds up till now have been purchased, what is left over. You would see that after the monthly financial, which is page 7. And as you can see right now, we're keeping track. So we're keeping track of what's being spent for CARES Act funds can be used. Just to give you a summary on it, I've been doing monthly since October. We're doing monthly audits for the county. This actually started back in June, our first one. But as we're getting closer to the December 31st cutoff date, they have wanted to make sure that everyone is spending the money accordingly. So it's kind of more of a benefit to us. It's a little more work for us, but I get what they're trying to do. They're just trying to make sure that we're using the funds and correctly. As you can see, up till now, we have spent $33,423. I believe today the agenda is the big portion remaining, because we had budgeted $68,814. So obviously, there's about a little bit over $33,000 left to spend, which we intended to do the audio visual. I know it's on the agenda item, so that's one of the items that we still need is left to spend. The remaining balance will be used towards the Shop Small event. So just wanted to kind of give you guys a perspective on that, what the money has been used. While on the subject of finances, though, the finance liaisons, we discussed this in the committee and wanted to bring up to you guys, be aware, because we are getting ready to start talking about budget. I'm hoping to create a timeline so we can start discussing it coming in the new year for the new budget discussion. Councilman Morris, you won't be happy about this, but we have received a letter that our legals will be going up. On the admin side, the hourly rate will go up by $7, which right now we're currently paying $262 an hour. We'll be going up to $269. That is a 2.67% increase. And a big ticket there, though, is that up till now, legal has given us a flat fee for meetings of $900. They are removing that. They're removing that for the next contract year, which will start July 1st. So while he's here, it won't be that flat fee anymore. It will be an hourly rate at the $269. With that being said, the thought was during the finance committee that the suggestion for next year, once that takes effect, to probably consider moving the attorney's time or closed sessions at the beginning of the meetings so we can get them in and out. Just for your consideration, we'll discuss that, I'm sure, during the budget.
We'll take responsibility for that, Martin, if you're watching.
On the other side, too, we have had a flat fee, monthly fee for the PD legal side. Martin's team does prosecute any of the cases our department handles, and they're going from $2,100 a month to $2,310, which is a 5% increase. I'm sorry, $22,500, which is a 5% increase. What was it?
22.5 is the new?
Will be the new, starting July, yes.
And this is a flat fee?
This is a flat fee, monthly fee for the department. That is, from my understanding, that it still is a pretty great rate for us, considering what I believe when a few years we try to compare, and by far they came out really low. Even though it's an increase, it just means the guys are busier, so it's a good thing too.
Let me just add in there that when Bob and he goes through the billing, and I'll sign the checks, and double check the billing anyway, you start to add up the numbers, and you find that the flat fee is actually is much better on an hourly basis, based on them keeping track of all the items that they deal with on that prosecution side. So I think we're continuing to get a very good deal on that. It's the other administrative stuff and things that we, outside of, not just admin stuff, but, challenges like the BZA and other cases that are pending. Go ahead.
To Chris's point with respect to the legal bill, although I'm comfortable with what we've been billed for, I'm not happy about it. And I'll say it right now. There are a handful of individuals that have cost us tens of thousands of dollars in legal bills since we've been sitting up here. Unnecessary legal bills. Take it for what it's worth, but.
And I understand, Bob, my big issue of always raising the attorney fees is never to let it leave the forefront of our thoughts.
Yeah.
Because it's coming from $120,000.
Yep.
And now we've gotten it to 70.
You know what I think? I think it's a double-edged sword. Right? I mean, we want to try to do as much as we can to
Exactly.
minimize those costs, but there are situations
Yes.
where if you don't utilize that
Totally.
resource, you can get yourself into a lot
Totally
of trouble,
understand.
as we will be talking
Yes.
about later.
Yes, exactly. I totally understand, and I'm in favor of it. I just want to make sure it's continuously at the forefront of our minds.
Yeah.
And the suggestion of having the attorney do his presentation first, and we need to just make sure that we look at the legalities of having him here at the meeting, and we cover ourselves if he needs to be here for a regular meeting.
Yeah.
So when we establish the agenda, we have to take a look at that.
Exactly.
And manage it that
if
way.
if it pleases the council, I will be doing some more research as far as as it relates to the police department. What does this 2250 means to the town as far as the prosecution, what cases we brought, and maybe look at the last few months, just for us to get an understanding to see if we're really getting the benefit from having a full-time. I think Martin, I hope he's listening. I know they do a good work for us.
I would suggest that that's one of the things we review every month is the prosecution's legal bill, and it is broken down. And I think Jill will concur on this. We're getting a sweet deal.
Yes. I'm not.
For the amount of work that
How
they're
many
doing on
days
that
a
flat
month?
rate.
How many days a month are we in court? Do you know?
It's not just
4.
court. It's not just a court appearance. There's a
preparation.
lot of other stuff going on behind the scenes, and there are pleadings and. I wish I had a copy of one sitting here in front of me, but there's a lot of other things that happen throughout the month. It's not limited to just the court date.
Well, you know what? I would make a suggestion. Take a look at them with Roberto and staff here.
Take a look at a couple of months worth of
Yeah.
that, because
Give
there
you
is
a
a
sense.
separate breakdown for those particular costs.
Definitely, I'll be more than happy to set some time aside to do that. Yeah.
Again, I don't think it's gonna weigh much on the increase, because I think it's it's already a great fee what the attorneys are and will be charging. But we do need to consider if he's here at work session, when we ask of him to be at work session and also here at council meetings, that's already a minimum 18 hours, well, 16 hours that he's already here.
He's
So
saying
16.
I hold 8-hour meetings?
16 times, yeah. We've had 8-hour. We've had those meetings where we left here midnight.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah, I was going to
Some people
suggest,
didn't talk so much.
but hold on. We're not talking about, because you have to also include the weekly calls from the town manager. You have to also include the calls that the mayor may put into him. So and emails. I mean, so
it really adds up.
it does.
And a lot of these litigation efforts add up.
And one of the smart things, I can tell you that I commend Chris for one of the big things that we put in place, and I know Chris spearheaded it, was moving towards a weekly meeting with him. Because I remembered 3 years ago, it was whatever we needed, pick up the phone and call. And 3 years ago, it was anyone could pick up the phone and call. And that's what one of the first things that this council did was they put a stop to it, and they had a designated person or persons that ran it through to get to the attorney. So we've cut down the contact with the attorney, but we still need to just bear it in mind as we move forward.
Sorry, we cut you off.
What percentage of the budget are we looking at as far as the month?
Currently, right now?
Yeah.
So right now, we are at 36.7%.
Wow.
Of the budget season.
For the budget.
So the budget season.
Talking expenditures or
Expenditures
revenues?
right now.
Yeah, because the attorney fees is at 35.4.
I'm showing 34.6, but for the total expense.
Don't they lag though? Don't they lag?
Probably, yeah.
But this is the same thing, right? You watch it, you monitor.
Yes,
you track
exactly.
it.
So we're not caught off guard.
Right.
You know, I think that's just being fiscally responsible. Sorry, Roberto, you can continue.
No, that's fine. The reason why I bring it up is because we are going to soon start thinking about the next year's budget. And if this is something we have the time now to maybe consider even start in practice on having the attorney come in earlier or whatnot, because by the time July 1st comes, it may be an easier transition for y'all, council. You know, if there is a practice period, maybe having him move up to the front of the agenda to do any closed session, if considering it, to consider that. I just wanted to share that information with y'all.
Can I ask if this is a common practice? Maybe Chris, maybe you know if this is a common practice with hourly rates versus a flat rate in the industry?
So I know that a lot of the towns that Martin and Vanderpool work with normally do hourly or some combination of the flat rates for certain services like the meetings or maybe prosecution and hourly rates for other stuff. It just kind of depends on what the locality wants, and then they'll kind of cater it that way. But some flat and some hourly rate, that mixture is, Culpeper, Occoquan, they've worked a little bit in, Middleburg, I think, for at least a little bit. So they've done work quite a bit around here, but I can see if there's any other options.
Okay. And because this is a recorded meeting, I need to ask, does this only apply to the town of Haymarket, or it's across the board?
Does what now?
For the increase in fees?
The customer
Part of our
contract,
contract, right?
Yeah, so we have a contract where they can increase to a certain percentage, and they were within that contract. So I would have to check to see, because I'm not sure.
It should be public knowledge, right? So maybe we should check to see if there's an increase in Middleburg and all other places. We are a shift from hourly to flat rate. From flat rate to hourly.
Things getting too big. That's getting too big.
I know it is. I think what we should, do we know when this contract expires? Or is this just a continuation of the previous?
Based on the email that Jerry got in 2018, this is what's still moving forward.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it's a perpetual one because they serve at the pleasure,
Right.
I think.
And then that's in 2018 is where they cap their percentages, the 3% and 5%, I believe.
3% escalator on the hourly rate,
And then 5% for the flat
and 5% on each subsequent July 1.
for the prosecution.
Right.
So that's where, like Councilman Morris was asking, I'll have to get an understanding of why they went to flat rate for the meetings at some point in time and then went back to hourly rate. So
Well, and, why don't you tell them about the email and you contacted Vanderpool?
So yeah, Vanderpool did actually increase it at a rate of 10%, and we just had to pull up the previous contract that was sent with Jerry in 2018 and just inform them that they increased it at a rate of 10% instead of 5%. So then they corrected it from what 2310 was what they were proposing for next fiscal year, and just once we corrected it, that's what brought them back down to 2205.
Right, you're saying that the contract said 5,
Correct. So
but they were gonna increase by 10?
correct. So we just had
Maybe
to,
they should get attorneys to read their contract.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, that's a good thing we have oversight,
Yeah.
because it's caught, so. But you make a point.
and this, like I said, we've got the letter they sent from 2018 that we review whenever they send us the letter saying, oh, we're going to increase by this amount. We pull it up and Roberto does the calculation just like he did and make sure it's within the 3% and 5%. So,
I'm glad there's a email chain.
Okay, roll along.
Now we're in.
Yeah, I know, okay. Roberto, you got anything else?
No.
Anybody else have questions for Roberto?
I was just gonna ask, on the CARES Act, it says Haymarket Day video. I just wanna get a public update if that's been done and like when we can expect it.
yes, it has been finalized. I think we got it last week right before Thanksgiving. So it'll be out by the end of the week.
Perfect. Yay.
Okay, last chance for questions. Okay, moving on to the franchise agreements.
So this is something that Councilman Ramirez spoke to some individuals about and wanted to put this on the meeting. So I don't know if she wanted to speak to it, and then I can follow up with some additional information.
What? So you're recommending that we discuss the option with the town attorney?
Correct. I think that because these are very technical and legal documents,
Right.
that, I mean, we can discuss them and kind of the status of where they're at, but personally, I don't feel comfortable really getting into a lot of the legal details regarding them without Martin present.
And this has been an ongoing issue.
I mean, I was hoping to come in and figure out where we were with these contracts, because we do have some residents who are hard of hearing, and they made mention that Comcast is incredibly slow, and, you know, that's their main source of communication with the world, because not many people know sign language. So they asked, you know, what the situation was with Verizon and how everything was, and I know there was mention of that. So when I came in, the conversation was for me to follow up and ask how things stood, what could possibly go on, and
I will oversimplify this for everybody.
okay.
The agreements are what the agreements are.
Okay.
For whatever period of time they go. The one with Dominion Power, I think, was what, a 30 or a 50-year one? Was signed forever ago. The agreement with Contel, which is now Verizon, is simply for voice telecommunication and that sort of thing. All video streaming and cable is covered under the Comcast agreement. And I will repeat this for the upteenth time. Despite what Verizon says with respect to FiOS, they claim that, or they have claimed in the past, that the town refuses to allow them. That is not the case. When Comcast's agreement expired 10 years ago, give or take, we put forth the notice that anybody interested in acquiring a franchise agreement with the town, which is mandatory for them to operate within the town. The only one that came forward was Comcast, and that was under some bit of duress. Once Comcast entered into that agreement, my understanding was and still is that the base contract, or the base franchise agreement that they signed with the town becomes what every other provider has to comport with. Verizon didn't want to do it, and that's why we don't have FiOS in town, because they refused to sign off on the agreement. We collect, if they don't sign off on the agreement, and we allow them to provide services, then we collect no utility communications tech from them, and there are a variety of other things they're required to provide in terms of performance, service, that sort of thing. They have refused to sign it. That's why we don't have Fios and we only have Comcast. Is there anything we can do about it? I mean, we can pay Martin to tell us what I think the answer is going to be, which is no. It is what it is. We are legally bound by the contracts until the end of the contract term.
When I spoke with Chris Kuhn, it sounded like at least one of these agreements had expired and needed, I don't, what?
So Dominion, Dominion Energy is the one we need to discuss. But Bob is also correct that Contel was purchased by Verizon, so that's where they're operating with the telecommunication piece of it. But that's where the cable piece as well, like Bob had mentioned, is that Comcast has the cable franchise agreement and Verizon does not. So that's why Verizon does not offer cable.
I think one of the other things that's worth noting is Dominion is different, and the contract or the franchise agreement with Dominion is significantly different from a statutory standpoint than the cable franchise one, where you got wiggle room and negotiate. You know, Dominion has it pretty much sewn up. You get what the state legislature says you're going to get, and that's it. So there's not much negotiating above and beyond what day do you want us to sign it, and when are you going to provide our taxes. So.
And we have a copy of that in the files?
Yeah, we've got a copy of it.
And so if it expired in 2018, right, it said 30 years from 88?
Correct.
I gather it's 18 or 19 that's expired. There must be some kind of a rider in there or something that, it's not perpetuity, but I'm sure there's language
Until
in
such
there.
time as it's re-signed, probably.
No, I appreciate the institutional knowledge that Bob brings to the table. Do we have this recorded as far as the wording from where Verizon did not supply or did not bid?
It's in the minutes from the meetings years ago.
So I was going to say, I can't speak to what Bob was mentioning previously, but some of you may know when Verizon was digging in the yards in Green Hill, I went out there and talked to the crew and kind of got an idea of what was going on, and had Martin ended up talking to their attorneys and ended up getting it all worked out that there was a private easement between Verizon and the homeowners, so that's why they were able to do
But
it.
only for telecommunication, not for data or cable.
And so that's one of the other reasons why I think it'd be better for Martin to kind of explain the Verizon piece specifically, because he spoke with Verizon's attorneys regarding the franchise agreement and them doing the work in town and everything, and I think he can articulate it a little bit better than I could.
What I'm trying to get at is how do we work as a body to eliminate having to run to the attorney? Like, do we have something here that stamps to say Comcast/Contel or Dominion Energy are the only ones allowed to perform this work within the town limits?
Personally, I think it's way too technical.
I'm not saying we're going to eliminate, the liability or not
Contracts are
rely
open to
on them.
review. Anybody can come in and look at them.
So
I mean,
I
they're
have
public
the
records.
contracts for those 3 franchise agreements. If you guys wanted to look at them, I'll have them. So we do have the contracts ready and available.
Yep. And like I've made vocal before, I'm a little disappointed that data and voice can be weaseled under one contract, and Verizon's allowed to move on that, but.
Yeah.
I mean, it also sounds like there's an issue of competition, right? Effectively, Comcast has the monopoly in this town for cable.
But that's by the choice of Verizon not to compete. Dominion, on the other hand, has a monopoly.
Have we
Well, that's true.
approached
But that
Verizon
gets
with
to
the
the-
growth that we've been seeing? Because they might, with the growth that the town's been seeing, do you think Verizon might be a bit more interested to?
That's where I was just mentioning. Martin spoke to them within a couple months ago that they said they weren't interested.
But here's the thing that maybe you can do, by talking to neighbors, and maybe they can contact Verizon and keep contacting Verizon, and the more you do that, maybe there is some slither of hope
Gotcha.
that they might be interested in coming back in here to do that kind of service.
Sure.
Yeah, with the cable cutting, I can understand why they don't want to come in with video, but I'm sure they want to come in with broadband data. And to me, I feel that should be a separate contract in which we can make Verizon stand up to the service performance of Comcast, which
Well,
they
the
do not do.
fiber optics they're laying are capable of providing all of those services.
Well, it surely doesn't come to my neck of the woods, because when I asked for it, they said no.
So what Bob is saying is Verizon can come into the town with that portion of it as
They
long
can
as
come in with everything, they can provide any service except, my understanding is cable operation. Now, what streaming video gets a little squirrely in terms of whether they can or they can't, and that's something that Martin's going to have to work on, because it's not really that cut and dry. It's kind of, how is it provided? You know, there's a difference between going on your internet and looking at YouTube and then subscribing to a streaming service. So that's a question you would have to ask Martin. But in terms of actual FiOS service, that sort of thing for cable, yeah.
So the house that Verizon went to dig, so the neighbor, if the neighbor gets called again, are we gonna dispatch the town manager and then have him call Verizon, the town attorney?
I don't understand.
If the next door neighbor now wants Verizon and Verizon crew comes out to dig,
They put it through the entire neighborhood. They're still doing it right now.
But here's the question, are they providing a service to the homes?
Yeah,
Or is this just a throughput?
and that's
It's
my
a
big-
replacement, I think, of the existing service, I think.
And that's my big question, because if they're going to sit there and offer broadband fiber to Green Hill Crossing, but they're not going to offer broadband fiber to me,
To the rest of the town?
Well,
it's going to be an all or nothing thing, and that's what this
we
franchise agreement's all about.
we have no control or authority over that under the utility. My understanding in speaking with Martin is we have very limited authority in what we can do to them as a public utility.
But that's what a franchise is all about, is level of service. What
Yeah, but it's
options
also
are you gonna
clouded
offer,
by,
and you're required to
it's
offer
also
to
clouded
everybody.
by what are their available easements, what are their expansion plans, where are they already providing service? I mean, if we can get into this with Martin, but it will be a very long discussion.
I know, but you can kind of understand my point of view as a, the representative of the town. You can't offer one citizen one thing and tell the other one, I'm not going to offer it to you because it's not cost effective. This is what franchises are all about.
They offer it. They offer it to everybody. The only thing they're doing right now is replacing copper with optical fiber.
Right, but I
So
can't,
are
I
we going
can't
to tell
get a
them?
broadband.
I don't think we have the ability to tell them, well, we want all of the copper in town replaced with optical fiber.
but we do
The
have
only
residents that
broadband,
have Verizon.
yeah, the only broadband I can get from Verizon is DSL,
And that may change once the fiber optic goes in, if they put it down your
if they
street.
ever put it down my street.
If they have an easement to put it down your street, which I don't know.
So I think the question,
They got the power lines, right?
but the question that needs to be answered is it worth it? Because there's a cost from the attorney. I think
Yeah.
the question that needs to be answered and answered to the residents is expending this amount for the attorney's fees, is it worth it?
Right.
Is it worth asking the attorney to give us a ruling or an explanation in layman's terms, what we have in front of us and what Verizon can do and what the contract really states? Can they come in, can they agree to come in, Verizon, to do?
That will depend on how in-depth an answer you want and whether you want them to research a legal opinion based on the existing state codes and the changes in them. If you just want a 5,000-foot view, yeah, that'll be probably relatively economical. If you want a detailed legal opinion as to what are, well,
But I think that view is I'm satisfied with that view. I'm satisfied with a 5,000, a 10,000 foot view. It's an answer that we need to get to the residents.
okay.
I'm not sure the 5,000-foot view, though, answers the question originally raised, though. That's the question in my mind. Will it help get that individual who really needs it, that service, or others in town, that service?
My guess would be no.
Probably,
Yeah,
but I
that's-
don't know, without really.
And that's
having
why
a
the
conversation.
incentive is, it's all or nothing. You know, either you bring it to all our citizens or you don't bring anything to our citizens.
But again, I don't think we have the authority to do that.
I understand, but I've had this question posed for the past 6 years.
Yep.
And I've never gotten a definitive answer. I've gotten opinions. and
Well,
I've
they
gotten-
gave us a definitive answer on FiOS TV, and the definitive answer was no.
Did they give it to us in writing now?
Yes, they did. It's in their email.
All right, so we have documentation on that.
Yes.
At least. Okay, so we have something.
I've gotten institutional knowledge, I've gotten opinions, but I think we as a town need something definitive.
Chris, can you forward him that email string from Verizon with respect to the upgrading that they were doing and what services they will provide and what services they absolutely will not provide? And they actually mention, I think they actually mentioned that they can't provide FiOS TV, for lack of a better term,
And is this a
because
recent-
because they have not signed the
Is
franchise
this a
agreement
recent
and they will
email?
not do it.
Is this a recent email?
Within the last 2.5 months, 3 months?
Can you
Yeah,
include me, Chris,
forward that
please?
to all
Thank
the,
you.
Everybody,
all the
yes.
members.
Maybe we need to discuss that, just in closed session, like what it is that we need to get, like information that we need to get beforehand, like an email like that.
Okay.
Like I would love to be privy to receive something like that, so I am
thought we
not
sent
as
that to
ignorant
everybody.
when I'm here on the dais.
I thought we sent that to everybody.
Vice
Could
Mayor,
be.
you had a question?
No, I was actually going to say what Joe was saying earlier. For me personally, it is worth the dollar to give our citizens a more direct answer than I don't know.
After all, it's their money.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's on the agenda for next week for Martin's opinion.
Is
Just
Martin
an
gonna be on
email,
an hourly
directive
rate
for Chris to
No.
forward the email.
Not next
We
week.
can, I was gonna say, if Martin does his town attorney review, we could just have him give a quick,
We can ask him for a quick, yeah, that's a good idea, that's a good,
then? And if it generates additional
right.
questions that we want answers to, then
As long as it's included in that 1 hour.
is he going to be on the hourly rate next week, or is it going to be the?
no, that's not until July 1.
Till July.
Oh, really? Oh, well.
Next year.
We got 6
Hey.
months to ask them all kinds of questions.
I gotta make up some questions. Keep them coming. Yes. He's gonna be here till 1 o'clock next week.
Now, here's the quote from their email. Verizon is only replacing its copper network with FiOS fiber optic cable. Verizon will not and has no plans to offer cable service, FiOS TV, over its fiber. We will only offer voice and internet service. If Verizon determines in the future to offer cable service, as such as term is defined in 47 U.S.C. Section 522, then we will seek a cable TV franchise from the town.
So if they have internet service.
Yeah, I want
And that's
broadband.
where
I
that's
want-
where it gets squirrely, and that's and yeah, that's.
I want the option to get the same service that I get from Comcast for everybody.
What was this response? Let me rephrase this. What is the context for this email from them? What did they receive
Whether
from
or
us
not they
prior?
had easements to.
Okay, so
like,
we
dig
were
up people's
approaching
front
them
yards.
wondering why they were breaking a rule potentially, and so they're clarifying, no, we're not breaking the rule.
There was a question as to whether they needed permits to
To do.
Okay.
dig in an easement that may or may not have existed.
Okay,
And
so
it become, and,
this
and
isn't an
we're out of the
intention
picture.
email. The conversation was not to see what their intention is for the future of this town.
No, that just- that
This
came as
was
a
a very
byproduct
specific
of-
situation that they were responding to.
This came as a
Okay.
byproduct of their trenching up the yards, and quite frankly, we were told that we need to stay out of it because it's a matter between the property owner and Verizon, and we have no say in the matter.
Okay. So I just want to be clear. They did not state that they were not interested in creating a contract with us, a franchise agreement.
No, they did state explicitly they are not interested.
With the tone?
Moment,
With the
in
tone?
response to us asking them about why they're digging. Correct? That's the context that am I hearing this correctly? Because in their statement, hey, we don't have any intention of it, we're just doing this. That's what I'm hearing.
They have
We're
had
not
no
doing-
intention for at least 10 years of doing it. And they've been very clear to the town council on that. But the problem is they tell people who want to get service from them a different story.
Well,
They tell
I'll
us
have
they
to,
have no
I'll have to
intention
read
of
these
doing it, and
emails
they
to
admit
get
that
better
they have to sign
context,
the
I
cable
guess.
franchise agreement. But then when somebody calls them and asks them, it's all the town's fault because we won't let them.
Okay.
We'll be more than happy to let them sign the cable TV franchise.
Right. I
We've
mean,
asked
I
them
would
to
love
for
more
years.
options for our residents. But
Yeah,
I
but that's a
think,
business decision on their part. I mean,
Right.
we can't force them to sign the cable franchise agreement.
I agree. But what I'm saying is I'm hearing this dialogue from just the excerpts you're sharing a bit differently than reading it as they are not interested, period.
I think
That
it's.
I'm hearing it a bit differently
think
because
it's-
I feel like they're responding to something very specific.
No, I think their offhand comment that Verizon will not and has no plans to offer cable TV service is pretty direct, and it's the same response we've gotten from them since at least 2006.
Chris, can we prep the attorney to give a response or a statement on this without incurring any cost?
Yes, what I'll do is at the weekly meeting on Wednesday, I'll just have him prepped that at the regular meeting, just make sure that he's ready to answer the question regarding the Verizon communication he had with their attorney. Because we do have these emails, but then Martin had discussions after the fact, I believe, so that's where they doubled up on it. So this way, we, council have these emails as well as Martin.
Perfect. Now, what Bob is asking for you to forward to us, that is just one email. Do we have any other
No,
emails?
it's a
chain.
string.
Okay, it's a string, but do we have any other emails where they have made that statement that they've made in this letter? You see what I'm saying?
I might have some old emails from years ago, but I'd have to go into a computer and an account that I
You have a
open
server at home?
rarely.
I'm just messing with you, man.
So let me just jump in for a second. So what I'm hearing here is, are we suggesting, or is somebody suggesting that we should reach out to them to ask for a definitive statement, whether in fact they're going to do this or not, to provide this service? I mean,
It is my opinion to find out from Martin first what his understanding is, because
Exactly.
he had conversations with their attorney.
right. And so does he have a letter to file? Because typically, you would think that he would have a letter to file, perhaps, on this conversation.
And so that's what, if he has one, I'll ask him to bring it, and if not, he'll be ready to discuss it.
Yes, perfect.
Yeah. And then we'll see where we are.
Yeah,
And if the council decides that we want to definitively get a response from them, that we've made the effort again, which is probably umpteenth time that this has been an effort being done for
been an
this.
effort, but do we have a
then at
record
least-
of it?
Yeah, well, that's the question. I don't know. I haven't seen
Exactly.
anything.
I mean,
writing other
the
than
other
this
thing
email.
is their agreement, their 40-year agreement doesn't expire until July of 31.
Whose 40-year agreement? Comcast?
Contel.
Contel,
was
which
purchased by
was sold to
Verizon.
somebody, which was
But
sold to
Verizon
somebody.
can still come and fall in line with all the arrangements from Contel and provide
They have
everything.
to. They own the contract.
Yes.
They bought everything.
So Verizon still can do that if they choose.
They can do what's provided for within the terms of that original 1991
exactly.
contract. 91,
But we
yes.
need to have something definitive on file here in the town office.
We have a copy of that contract, the 91
no, not the
contract.
contract.
He's talking about documentation.
Where Verizon now comes and says, we are not interested in the town of Haymarket. You can copy this letter and send it to all your residents. That's what we need on file.
I know it was discussed at length in
Yes.
prior council meetings, and it's probably in the minutes, but how you would search for it right now, I have no idea.
Does anybody know what the hotel is going to be doing relative to their internet service, television, cable? I mean, we're talking about how many rooms? 117 additional rooms.
Satellite service.
Well, I don't know. I mean, but this could be
Typically, that's
another
what they do.
opportunity to leverage, perhaps. Just thinking out loud, that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, typically they use satellite service.
It's cheaper.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, good point, though. Good point, Trace.
Okay, any more questions on the zoning?
I feel like our term
franchise.
here is like fixing problems that has been brushed under the rug for years. You know, just get something definitive.
And we're doing it so well, guys. Good job. Gold stars.
Okay, let's move on to the next item.
Yeah, item number 4.
Mom, stop.
Zoning text amendment.
Okay, I'm going to walk us through some of the amendments we had discussed before and just let you guys know that I've made them. If you recall, Bob had given out a sheet and I added some notes to it. I'm just gonna go off of that document. Big items, section 58-3.1, schedule of fees. Bob had provided the updated text that should go there. That was copy pasted into the document.
I'm sorry, Miss Emily, is
Yes.
it possible to give the page number or the packet page?
It's,
I don't know.
it's page 33 of the ZTA,
Page 33,
but that's not necessarily packet page.
right, but 33. Thank you. All right.
Review and approval procedures?
So then, jumping ahead, page 79 of the packet, section 58-12.5, I just want to triple confirm this with everybody,
Page 79 of the packet.
of the ZTA, not the packet.
79.
Hold on, computer froze.
Let me get down there.
So that's Town Center District B1?
Hold on,
That
man,
is
how you get in there so fast? Oh, you're using
Because I have
paper.
my copy.
Go up to where it has the number and type in 79.
I didn't want to have.
It's page
printed again.
93 of the packet,
Right
page
here, look.
79 of the ZTA.
I'm sorry.
Section.
Section 58-12.5 coverage. We had discussed leaving that at 85 because of the properties that could be revitalized, there were pre-existing structures, et cetera. And then scrolling forward one page to page 80, that was modified so that the maximum buildable lot coverage shall not exceed 75% of the total lot area. Maximum lot coverage in the B2 shall not exceed 75%. Okay, so that was taken care of. The sidewalks,
I'm sorry, I'm at page 78. What was the correction?
Page 79.
page 79.
Okay.
The last item on the page, I just wanted everyone to recall that we were leaving that number at 85, shall not exceed 85%.
Right.
And then on the next page, on page 80, we're taking that number in the B2 down to 75. Going in order, page 82. This is something that we had discussed in Planning Commission, and we had not openly fully discussed this in Town Council, so I wanted to bring it up. Conservation District, we had left the intent, and we were going to retract the uses and the lot coverage, height, et cetera, because the goal was to minimize all buildable, developable land in the conservation so that it truly is a conservation district. Does anybody want to further discuss that? If not, I'm going to retract my comment out of there and retract 58-15.2.
Right.
As it is right now, there's only one structure in this area. That is a grandfathered in structure, and as it stands, they cannot expand beyond the area that was grandfathered in. Most of this area also lies within the floodplain area of the North Fork Creek. Okay. Unless there's any objection, I'm going to retract my comment, and I'm going to strike 58-15.2.
Mhm.
Okay. Next section, 58-20.9.
Page,
One second.
page 2.
That's further back, yeah.
It's after all the signs.
That's sidewalks?
That is sidewalks. That's going to be on packet
22.
page 135.
Packet, page 135.
document 122.
121. 58-20.9. What I did here is, this is regarding our sidewalks, so I came in and I modified item F, and I stated sidewalks located on Washington Street shall conform to the stamped concrete, red brick color, herringbone pattern with soldier course, and subject to additional construction and design standards as provided by the town engineer.
Soldier spelled wrong.
Whoops.
Yeah, it's the herringbone pattern. Do we gotta say 90 degree, 45 degree to specify that, since we had problems before?
So that was something that I wanted to discuss. We can put in here more specifications. Typically, we leave something along the lines of, when you do site plan, the design standards or the spec is given to you to include in the notes of the site plan. But we can certainly add it in here. We just need to make sure that the wording is accurate of what we expect to see out there.
Joe?
So if somebody does less than 5 feet on the sidewalk, say they do 3 feet theoretically, do they need a waiver for that?
So theoretically, if we're referencing item A, that sidewalk shall have a minimum unobstructed width of 5 feet, or the standard width in accordance with VDOT, or the standard width recommended by Americans with Disabilities Act, whichever is greater, they would have to follow one of those three, but make sure that they are within the standard for ADA. So that's something that, looking ahead, I'm going to speak with Martin on exactly.
Looking at the language, whichever is greater means that your minimum is 5 feet,
That is,
because that's your stated width, the only stated width you've got.
that is correct. So we
And this
do
wasn't-
not, I'm
and this-
sorry, we do not allow for a waiver. We do not have in our current ordinance any opportunity for a waiver.
Okay.
And we do not propose a waiver option in our proposed ZTA either.
Line A has not been modified
No,
since the
sir.
previous.
No, sir.
No.
So I got a question that's going on here then, and you know exactly what I'm going to be asking, right?
Yes, and that's going to be covered in the town planner monthly report at Monday night's meeting, if that's adequate for council.
Okay, yeah, it'll be addressed then.
Yes, it will.
You're boiling, man. Why don't you just say it? Just say it, man.
Okay, I'll say it. This is what fast-tracking things do.
Yeah.
These things get ignored when you fast-track something, and we have the problems that we're going to be discussing next week. You know I'm steaming on it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I just don't want us to get the steam. I want you to say it in
He's
the
trying to
microphone.
crank you.
Save your righteous anger for tonight's issues. We'll have our righteous anger again next week, believe me.
This is just one of them.
I know. I couldn't agree with you more.
It's sad, but
It's also why our legal bill goes up and up and up and up and up.
So
Yep.
you're saying nothing has changed with this, so we are moving ahead. If any brickwork is disturbed moving forward, we're going to be replacing it with stamped concrete. Correct?
That is correct, and we have already proactively contacted the Van Meter property in town to alert them of this modification, so they too will be working on that.
So are you sure that Van Meter is going with stamped concrete right now?
On Washington Street, it's
Yeah,
required.
I'm sure they'll be happy to, because they destroyed all those bricks, and you can't replace those bricks. Those bricks are irreplaceable.
Because that looked like it's pressed for bricks.
Where?
Yeah, on
Fourth
Washington
Street.
Street, yeah.
Yeah.
It
But they
probably
do have
was,
forms in
as
there.
of Tuesday of last week, they were planning to put bricks down until
Okay.
I gave them a phone call.
Because
So
I
they're,
drove past the form, and that form, it's prepped for,
they're working on the change.
For
We
bricks.
notified them last week
Okay.
to remember that they needed to work on this. So that was something that hadn't been passed down yet from their admin person down. So they're working on it. They have the spec, they have the example, they know that it needs to be 90 degrees or parallel to the street. depending on how you want to look at it. So they are aware and they're working on that for this week.
Yeah, they call it half-turn too.
I think they said that the weather was going to be adequate for them to lay stamp concrete.
Gee,
Don't
they can
get,
lay
don't get
stamped
Bob
concrete,
started.
but
Don't,
we
don't even get Bob started with that.
Well, we're having a
Okay.
great.
Why should I be surprised?
So,
Moving forward, do we have a plan of all our existing sidewalk and the portions that are stamped concrete and the portions that are not? And the point I'm getting at is, do we have a calculation of how much it would cost per square foot to change out the bricks to stamped concrete? And maybe like next fiscal year, we may say, hey, let's do 100
you
square
are
foot.
10 steps ahead of the game. We're just putting it in the ordinance right now.
Okay.
And we can work during budget season to calculate how many square feet we would have to replace, discussion on maintenance, and see if we can come up with something, because that would be something that we could put in our CIP.
Yeah.
Yep, this is definitely a CIP
And
discussion.
yes, it definitely can also be worked into our comprehensive plan with, some long-term.
Sponsors too, you know, we can have
maintenance.
different sponsors. Little could sponsor, you know,
Okay.
200 linear foot.
So
Just saying.
jumping back,
Next.
so the next item, commercial uses,
Where?
section 58-21.2. That's gonna be.
Uses and design
page-
standards.
Packet page 139,
Ah,
Yep.
thank you.
Go
zoning
back up.
ordinance page 125.
139, packet page 130.
And that's gonna be item O, which is hotel. And that's gonna be,
Item O.
Way down.
yes, give me a second.
It's on packet page 147 at the top.
147.
So this originally, items 1, 2, and 3 under hotel for additional standards that would apply. They were additionally broken up into a B1 district and a B2 district. However, I went ahead and combined these so that all 3 additional standards were applicable to any hotel that would come into the town of Haymarket in the future. It's regarding the parking, the structure, and then the residential zoning in the area would have increased screening and landscaping standards as determined by the planning commission during site plan process. Okay. Next item, all districts parking. This is something that was discussed very briefly at our last meeting, and I told council that I would work with Chief Seibert on the parking standards. So jumping back to the front, give me just a second, I'll tell you the page number. We're gonna be packet page 79.
Agenda packet, page 79.
Agenda packet 78, yes, 78.
What page on the regular document?
It's
68.
Thank you.
Okay, so I spoke with Chief Seibert, he sent over some examples of different inoperable or inoperative vehicle sections. So I've inserted section 58-7.2, and then I have also included the definition of inoperable vehicle further up in the definition section. If you guys will just read through this item, make sure that it makes sense to everybody. This is the portion that would be enforced by the zoning administrator. This would not be the portion that's enforced by anybody in the police department. So this is going to be something that if the vehicle hypothetically is stored, it's designated as inoperable, then zoning administrator can go in and do something. I do want to make that fully clear that there is a provision in here that if a vehicle covered that is manufactured for the use of covering a vehicle would be acceptable for use for shielding it from view, and it must remain in good condition. There was definitely something in there about tarps, and we wouldn't allow for the securing of tarps. So if you guys would like to read through this section, let me know if you have any modifications.
I just think it needs to be separate. The motor vehicle and trailer should be separate. Because there are conditions, there are certain things pertaining to a trailer that, is it operable by itself without attached to a vehicle? Which I don't think it's covered here.
No, I think it is actually covered here because they're talking about it's operable if it still has its tires on it.
Yeah, but it has tires. But I'm talking about a vehicle attached to the trailer.
Well, if that's not operable, then
Stops at 165.
That's
It's an
left up to
inoperable vehicle.
interpretation.
you lost me.
If a trailer unattached from a vehicle, is it operable or inoperable?
It's operable if it's got its tires on it.
So you're saying a trailer not attached to a vehicle can be left parked, can be left in a space, can be left on a street without a vehicle attached to it?
Within certain parameters, yes.
And this section is specifically for private property. This would not include all of the public streets. That's where your police department comes into play, and the zoning administrator would step back. When it's on the public street, it goes next door. This is the private property portion. I tried not to get too deep in the weeds because we could have probably a whole 25 pages on this alone. A lot of what we're having issues with that has been brought to the town's attention is not within HOAs. Most of the HOAs have that taken care of and covered. We're strictly talking about our few residential properties that are not located in HOAs, and this would be vehicles, trailers, recreational vehicles, boats that are parked on private property, and then specifically on the paved portions of the private property. We have a separate section that discusses if they're parked on grass.
So even though it has wheels, if I turn it on its side, it's still functioning, right, Bob?
Then that would be inoperable, I would believe.
Yeah, so many scenarios that you can
I mean,
describe.
there's a separate section of the code that deals with trailers specifically.
Yeah.
The next items that I have on my note section, all formatting, including the use chart, making sure the headers carry over, all of that will be done. That will take some time to download the document into Word and go through the 160 plus pages. Just on formatting, so I'll work on that. Also, I have struck one item as I did not find that it was necessarily fitting. If you'll jump to the use chart, that's going to be packet page 84. Actual page is going to be 74. If you scroll down to the commercial, restaurant, mobile food unit, I have removed the mobile food unit from the R1 and the R2 districts. This was presented in the packet for a permitted use in all of our zoning districts. However, upon further investigation and discussion, I do not find that it's fitting to have the mobile food units permitted necessarily in the R1 and the R2, just based on the different types of communities that we have. We have one neighborhood that does have a community center, and technically the community center is located in the county, so they're not located in the town. HOAs would have to essentially permit this within their neighborhoods, on the streets. There's no real designated area. And then in addition, we do have the food truck permitting license that they would have to go through with the itinerant merchant, but based on the feedback we've received, I've left it in the TC, the B1, the B2, the I1, and it is flagged in conservation, but I would recommend deleting that out.
I would strongly recommend deleting it out there.
Yeah.
Can you search a PDF? Can you actually search the PDF?
Do they need
For what?
a tap?
I want to search trailers.
We do
Control F.
That's
Different, that's more specialized.
And I'll highlight all of the ones.
Are there any other questions or any other items? I did modify the junkyard definition to fall in line with inoperable vehicle definition, pardon? Five.
Five
Five.
vehicles? Is that 5 vehicles is regarded as a
Junkyard.
junkyard? 5 inoperable?
That's actually pretty standard.
Okay. So you can hit the arrow. Yeah, hit that. And then we'll show you everywhere that's highlighted.
We don't allow them.
Control F?
Yes, the keeping of 5 would be considered a junkyard.
I think it's always been that way, and I just don't think we've ever actually terribly enforced it very well, because I would suggest there are a couple of junkyards in town.
Yeah.
Someone claimed my house.
Also, I see you've included in the matrix, the marijuana establishment. Do we need to address outside areas as well, or as opposed to a distribution service?
So that inclusion was something that was discussed with the town attorney, and I can better clarify with him if this fully covers. This was some language that he had sent over, and we included based on his recommendation.
Yeah, I'm sure it's all gonna change over the next 2 years, but, you know, if I use the same business model as like Tobaccology, you got inside where the distribution is, but then they got a nice little lounge area outside where you can start smoking, and I'm sure we don't want somebody to buy half of like Hidden Jewels' area and then all of a sudden want to use their courtyard where people are eating to have a smoking establishment. So, you know, it's questionable. I mean, it's something that we'll probably have to address 2 years down the road, but,
And I'm sure the state legislature will address it first,
yeah.
so.
I mean,
It
So
it might,
it
it might
probably
already
follows the same
have. I
with an
don't-
outside smoking rule,
Yeah.
but.
might facilitate more eating. I mean, I'm-
But those are questions that'll
7-Eleven
probably come
burritos.
up, especially since we did include it in this matrix.
I suspect that's gonna be an ongoing work in the next couple of years. So I think it's gonna, I mean, the effective date's what, 2024?
But just a nice big yellow line through that, so you know it's a highlighted area of something to review later on or something.
Well, we'll have to do that when we get our legislative update with what got passed
Yeah.
in turn. So, I mean, we'll probably have to circle back and readdress it in July, either of this year or next year. July of 22 or July of 23.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions, or am I cutting you short?
I don't have any other items unless everybody on council does.
Yeah, I do, actually. That timeline for approval?
As soon as possible. I'm just going to be working on the formatting section of everything. If you guys would like the clean formatted version, I'm happy to bring that.
I want to adopt it and be done with it. I've
to
been looking at it for
council.
more than a year.
But what about, are we
Adopt
not going to
the
do a public
content.
hearing, or no? Any public hearing?
We've
on
had a
this?
public
We had
hearing.
it.
We had our
So
public
that was it.
And we've
Did we
filled
get
out
any comments related to it? Probably nothing.
Virtually nothing.
No.
I added comment.
Resident
I
Kim
added
Lorson
comments.
spoke out at the planning commission for a comment. We had,
Yeah,
Jim
Jim
Payne
Payne
spoke
spoke
up.
about the height.
That's it.
and I believe the Carol sent in an email as
Oh,
well.
that's right, yeah.
So we did have those comments. If the council feels they're ready to accept kind of the conditional where you accept the content and no additional content changes are made, strictly formatting, I can work on that and finalize it. With everything currently going on, I would probably ask that 1 month be dedicated to formatting.
But in
Is
order to
it's-
adopt it, you don't need the formatting, correct?
I would not think so. I will verify with the town attorney that that could happen
In
prior
which
to
case,
all
we
of the
should have it for
formatting.
adoption
Next
at
week.
the December meeting, correct? I think that's what the plan was from a
Yes.
timeline.
Yeah.
Okay.
If the answer is any different, I will notify council and I will
The only reason-
reprioritize and
The
get
only
the
reason,
formatting
the only
done.
reason for the formatting is for submission to
Unicode.
Municode.
Yes.
It has no impact on the structure of the ordinance itself.
Correct. There's a couple items where you have an extra space in there, so really it has no content ramifications.
Yeah, it's
Just
simply for formatting it for Municode.
correct.
Okay.
Not to beat a dead horse, but just to, now that I remember, the Carol's comment was about the height, and they recommended we go with what the changes were.
Correct.
Jim Payne, I can't remember exactly.
Coverage of the lot.
Lot
Lot
coverage. And your comment?
Lot coverage.
Lot coverage, okay. That was it.
So we had only 2 solid comments and 1 from the.
Pretty
I
much,
went
yeah.
from there. That's it?
No,
Okay.
one from a citizen. I was
Oh.
representing myself as a citizen, not the mayor.
I say we get it done.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I've been staring at it way too long. I can't read it. I can't read it again.
Well, let's,
The question is, can it be adopted without the?
With the
yeah,
formatting,
add
yeah.
that to the Wednesday.
That's what I will
attorney meeting.
request and ask the town attorney, and if, for some reason, if the answer is no, I'll notify council ASAP this week. Otherwise, if you don't hear from me,
It's on the agenda.
it's on the agenda.
Good.
Okay. Okay, let's move on then. Design build policy discussion.
Oh, item 5.
We got the policy in our packet.
Yes, this is so the town can move forward with the community park sidewalk plan. After we move forward with the RFP we got from Christopher Consultant, Martin indicated there is a state code that we are required to have a policy that meets that state code. Attached is a draft of that policy that would meet the state code. Martin did have a couple questions to ask, but they were minor questions, so it's nothing of significant substance.
So he's
He's fine with this
He's-
then?
put his blessing on this?
Correct. There's a couple, like project manager, that he wanted the definition, but I had indicated that's kind of the way you guys had spoke about the project anyway, that you would move forward with the contractor would be the project manager, so he felt okay with it. But I do want you guys to review it. This will forward to next week's agenda, and this way, if you guys have any questions, we have time to make some edits and have him review it one more time before you guys adopt it.
Who's the town's purchasing agent? Is that the town manager?
So that would be one of those things, depending on the project, it would give council flexibility to articulate who that individual was, because if it was Christopher Consulting, or if it's a small enough project that it was all done in-house, it just gives you guys flexibility. Or if you want to, like you said, you could define an individual or position to be that purchasing agent.
Okay. I did read it.
I don't have an issue with it.
I thought it was simpler the better. I mean, it
Yeah,
follows the
simple,
code.
so, yeah, just.
I like the pre-qualify, that's important. Makes it easier. Good, and he's reviewed it?
Okay.
I'm good.
We'll put that on the agenda next week for a vote then. Town hall site plan completion.
So, council, the memo in front of you, it goes back to the Town Hall Center Master Plan. We were asked to, if you remember, when we were discussing the budget amendments, this was one of the line items we created with the surplus funds.
Right.
We had amended an additional $95,000 to address the site plan completion. When I included the town planner in a conversation with Rinkers Design, Sharon, who is the project manager for this project, to get a solid number, what it would take to get these plans finalized and approved so the town can have them. When she came back, as you can see, it's actually going to be less than what we expected, $74,350.75. She informed me that the other funds that they had, the remaining balance, would have included assistance from them with RFPs, bidding, processing, all those, some project management pretty much. We requested just to get the site plans ready to go, finalized, and ready for the next step. Emily, can you explain a little bit more, because I know it's more in your realm when it comes.
One of the biggest items that we're going to need to work with Rinker on this time around to really get it across the finish line is our outside agency approvals. So a big portion of this is going to be preparing the site plan and then preparing it for its submission to the outside agencies. So that's something that, as you see on the actual schedule, you're going to be looking at, small font.
January 20th.
Yep, you're going to look in the March timeframe of when they would do their first submission to the agencies, go through that review process. All of the outside agencies, much like ourselves, have an expected amount of days that they're able to review the plan before they have to get comments back. We get comments back, so forth and so on. I would not expect that this plan should need to go through more than 2 submissions, and that's what you'll see here, that we would have the full 2 submissions and hopefully have the final, everything approved, ready to go by 9-10 months out from now.
So I see the outside agency is VDOT. Does that mean that our site plan is going to include the curb and gutter for this round? Is that why VDOT's being included in this, or?
So with any entry exit point onto a VDOT road, you have to send it over to VDOT. One of the items that I did discuss with Sharon was also, did we want to modify our entry out front here and get it to an actual commercial grade VDOT entry point? Currently it is not, because we have the incline up into the parking lot with that apron. All commercial grade VDOT entry exit points are at grade. So that was one discussion we had. That would be something that they would review. Her and I would further discuss that under item 5, which would be preparing the site plan submission. So they will take a little bit of time with items 4 and 5, where they're going to be working directly with their crew on their end to do the survey, utility items, preparing the actual site plan, but they'll also loop us into it, make sure that, you know, us as the customer, we're working through everything that we need to. So that's something I'd work with Roberto on, keep council up to date. I would work directly with the Planning Commission liaison, Mr. Weir, so that he was fully aware, taking it to the Planning Commission, of everything that would be going on as well.
Yeah, and sorry, but I'm a little bit behind the curve on this with our site plan, but I know with Cupcake Heaven and the addition of the turn lane that would be up there, what type of impact studies have we had to do, since we're going to have this probably an entrance into our complex on the turn lane, right?
Let me talk further with Sharon and her team. They've been working on this long before I actually came to the town, so let me see what they have already done. They had a pretty rough...
That's largely factored in.
Yes, they
design.
had a design worked up to completely modify that side of the town hall parking lot to the point that there was a single parking lot right in front of the police department door that was essentially, and I could be mistaken, but it was essentially a police-only parking lot, and then everything in the back there with the Cupcake Heaven building was reoriented so that you had a certain entry exit and additional parking was clearly designated back there when we went completely paved. So they have put a lot of that in. They included the portion of the sidewalk that we just completed, as well as the sidewalk that would go on our property, curb and gutter, and that turn lane.
Yeah, and the only reason I really ask is because I've always been aware from city life of with these turn lanes and stuff, you got blocking the box, in which people waiting to turn there totally eliminate and block an opportunity for people to pull into the parking lots. And so I know there needs to be some type of study that was done on this, and I don't know if anything was ever done. So
Now, VDOT will cover that
okay.
as part of their review.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, since I did see VDOT on here, that included that stuff, so. Okay,
Just a couple quick questions. So this timeline assumes that we approve this next week?
That would be correct. We went ahead and asked Sharon to include a notice to proceed with the day 12/15 in mind. So that would be correct. This was something we had discussed going ahead and moving quickly on, as we thought that was council's intent.
Right.
Certainly, we can let her know, hey, the notice to proceed date is going to be January 15th. That's not a problem. They can plug that in and modify. You'll just see everything shift about 1 month.
Right.
also, since we do see this stretched out over 2 years, is that $75 spread over two-year budget, or is it a one-time hit?
No, that looks like it's mostly in this year's budget.
Is it in this year's budget?
So how they usually bill is as they bill monthly. So obviously we would, in my budget, I would have to carry whatever we don't use by June 30th. But that is something I'm prepared to do. The number is overall, though, to answer your question. Yes, it's overall for up to the 2023.
Well,
So we may be able to spread this out over 2 years then, right?
well, the bulk of the work is this year.
Yes.
The bulk of the work is right up until, well, just before July 1st. I mean, they're doing a second VDOT review, if you look at it, 34 days from May 31st to July 15th. So, I mean, really what we're talking about, if everything goes well, it's mostly review with VDOT, the tertiary review.
Yeah.
So, but to Roberto's point, most of the money is in this budget, and we may want to budget for next year, depending on how the progress is going on this project.
Correct. And that's why on the budget impact, I actually realized that, I said I meant to say there's no additional impact to the budget, because we have, on the first quarter amendment, allocated $95,000 for this project. So it's well within that. So yes,
We pretty much already allocated for it, so
correct.
it's no stress. We're not pulling this from reserve or anything else.
No, it's one of the capital projects we budgeted for.
Just wanted to confirm that.
So, there was another question I had. Lost my track.
Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. You're the mayor. You get to.
Does council have any questions for Roberto or I to take back to Brinker in preparation for next week's meeting?
Yeah. So this is, any other groups reviewing this at all? I mean, does the county have any role in this, particularly if we're talking about future development on the transportation side? Would that make sense?
Service Authority does.
Service Authority is gonna review it based on our acreage. Katie should be doing the other
DEQ.
review, and then it would just be VDOT.
Okay.
They will also be including the modifications they had to do to our gas line with the sidewalk improvement, so we'll make sure that's taken care of as well.
Very good.
And did
Yeah.
this include the Service Authority stub? I can't remember.
Verify that.
Yeah.
I don't remember where we left that.
Yeah.
I thought we were stubbing it, but I could be wrong.
That's right.
Okay.
So is there a design that has already been approved?
Yes.
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 Does the entirety of the councils, have we seen that design?
Yes.
Like the layout?
Yes, everyone should have seen it
Multiple times.
multiple times.
Because the mayor just asked a question about the turn lane and stuff that would have been covered in that.
Well, the impacts, I don't know if there was any impact study done. Those were the things that I was worried about. I mean, the site plan's there. You know, we're using the existing site plan that's been around for about 10 years.
Yes, and Marchant brought it up, and I believe either gave everybody a printout or we pulled it up for one of our strategic work session discussions in August. But I'm happy to bring it back up again if council would like to go through it. I can give you some ideas. Also, looking at the schedule, that's something that, again, Sharon's team and myself, as well as Katie, will be working through in those first couple weeks of, you know, we want to keep with this design, this is how we want to move forward. We are going to swap back to some of the original trees that were proposed in the very beginning, so it's those items we'll be working through.
Yeah,
Making sure we're in conformance with our own ordinance.
Yeah, my question was strictly, you know, I saw the site plan, but I was trusting that all these things were vetted. But as we're seeing from the fast track program across the street, I just want to make sure that we are addressing all these things instead of, you know, losing our streetscape ordinances.
I guess the bigger question, again, I'll ask it, is we're prepared to approve this on Monday night. Right, and an NTP of December 15th.
That's correct.
Okay. All right.
So if anybody thinks of any other questions, if you leave here and have something pop up, just notify Roberto or I so we can contact Sharon as soon as possible.
Okay.
Next.
Town maintenance vehicle discussion. Lay it on to the finance committee.
So it was directed to the Finance Committee. Finance Committee worked with the chief, and I can let them provide the update.
I just want to get a sense of how much you guys want to spend. I mean, it was sort of a, is it easier to ask permission or forgiveness deal? I think our thinking, and I think along with the chief's input, you know, given what the scope of the vehicle's purpose is going to be, we don't need a Cadillac, so to speak. It's largely, for lack of a better term, going to be a garbage scow and something to tow a trailer literally around town and rarely, if ever, leave the town limits. So we were going to try and cap it as simply a utility pickup at about $5,000, and we think we can operate right around that number, unless you guys want to go buy something new.
Right. So there's two questions. How much do we want to spend? And, well, the other comment is that the chief has really been taking the lead on this for us, and he's been watching it, and Bob's been working with him. We had an opportunity for a vehicle in Manassas that we lost out on. It was around that $5,000 range. We're not thinking of a brand-new vehicle. We're thinking, as Bob said, we're thinking of something that's a used, older vehicle that's in relatively decent shape that we can perhaps get into better shape, because the scope of the work, right, I think we talked about that, is essentially to be the garbage scow instead of somebody using their own personal vehicle, and also maybe to do short trips, maybe to Walmart, Home Depot, Lowe's for materials and things of that nature. But nothing other than that, maybe moving trailers.
Hauling the trailers or equipment for Haymarket Day and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, with a trailer hitch and stuff like that. And right now, it's very difficult, very competitive for used vehicles. But the chief has got some things he's working on, one in Warrenton, I think.
One's in Warrenton, and the 5,000 number seems to be fairly stable for what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Seems to be the market value.
I mean, we have flexibility here.
First of all, I'm in total support of the direction that the Finance Committee is moving with this. I was a little bit taken back because when I did my weekly meeting with the chief, he was showing me that there was a bid on a vehicle in Manassas. So I thought you guys had already made a decision. I didn't know about it. or I thought it was just under the limit of what the town manager can approve as far as finances.
It was under the limit, but not by much, and it was an opportunity that had a very limited time frame.
That's true, but I think in the future, just to shoot out an email to the rest of the council, just to get a thumbs up would be the best approach instead of
We knew that was coming.
me finding out from the chief that we actually have a bid on it.
Yeah, we kept
So-
we kept it well under $5,000.
No, no, no,
because quite frankly, yeah.
the
He's
direction,
talking about
again,
communication.
the
Fine.
direction
Not a problem.
that you guys are going, I support it.
But the first question, we're talking about a limit of about $5,000.
I think it is too low,
You think it's too low?
yes. I think the direction that you're going is the right direction, having a truck instead of a go-kart with a trailer.
Right.
Which I already shared with you guys that's borderline stupid. But the go-kart with the trailer.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, there was no support for that.
But I think you could start and give the chief a leeway with 5,000, but I think you need to increase it.
Anything
5,000
above 5,000, we have to get council to sprinkle holy water on.
Yes, and that's what you're seeking now.
For above five, if you want to go above $5,000, I'm not averse to doing it. The question is, how much more do you
Yeah.
want to spend?
Yes.
I mean,
But-
where do you want to cap it at?
However, you go at $5,000. Luckily, what you guys looked at in Manassas probably didn't need any fixing, didn't need much
No,
work.
it was-
However, you're not going to find that all the time.
That's right.
But so if you go with 5,000 and then maybe said, hey, chief, as you're looking, your cap is 75.
Or what is-
Give us a cap.
Yeah, give us a cap.
I'm suggesting 75.
That was the number I had in my head.
Try to keep
your
it at
cap.
5, but
Keep it
go
at-
to
yeah.
75 if we can. I mean-
I don't know what number to throw out there simply because I don't know what the market is like right now. So, yeah, that's my only hesitation with even throwing out a number right now, because you guys are the ones that are looking. Can you give us something like an idea of like a range? Because I'm in support of increasing it. I just want to make sure that it's realistic, but also not wasteful, if you will.
We've looked at several vehicles, and that would ideally fit, and they're right around that. At the end of the day, they're right around that $4,500 to $5,500 range. I mean, we could have literally bid more on that one truck, but we didn't want to go above 5,000, and quite frankly, the market value of the vehicle was right around 4,500, and we didn't want to spend more. And
Okay. I trust your judgment. I don't want to
we
sound
had,
like I don't.
we're actually
I don't
checking the
know what
vehicles
number to
out
throw
before we
there.
actually do anything with it, and we've had several lists of potential vehicles, and depending on location, condition, operating, we've actually spoken to the jurisdictions that are offering them for auction about the operating status of the vehicle. I mean, the one in Manassas, for example, it was one of those numbers things. They got a bunch of federal money, so they had to get rid of a truck to buy a new one. So
Gotcha.
that's why you had a good deal on an operational vehicle.
Councilman Ramirez and Councilman Ware, just to give you an idea, Chief was able to give us a list of 11 vehicles that he saw that were going to meet the criteria. Out of the 11, 4 of them were over 7,000. All the remaining other ones were pretty much around the 4,000, like Bob said. So
Okay.
7 out of the 11, it's a decent price range, but 7,500 would give us more ability to.
Yeah, I want a DF350 flatbed.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
You want to roll some smoke, get a diesel engine, right?
No, I think what you looked at with that single cab F-150, that type of vehicle is phenomenal. Long bed,
Yeah.
8-foot bed, that is a perfect vehicle to run around town and pick up garbage, because I've always looked at it as 13 trash cans. You can fit in a 8-foot bed, you can fit 13 trash bags. And I think that's what we're looking for.
And you can tow those light utility trailers that we've got
Exactly.
as well.
I think that's just a good standard, what you guys are looking at.
I mean, you could probably get away with a smaller truck, maybe. And I think they'd probably be rated high enough to tow those utility trailers we got, because they're not that heavy. I don't think they're rated for a
No,
load.
you
that it
can
couldn't-
with a F-150, but I just feel like if you guys have the leeway and the blessing from the rest of the council to go up to 7,500, you can continue looking at 5,000, but still be, because if you had $6,000, you could have won
It'll
this.
depend on the condition of the vehicle.
You
It
probably
really
could have
will.
won this bid.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a game too, because they always say that, you know, that it's subject to extension, you know, on these bids.
And you got people that are auto bidding, and it's,
Yeah, well, I guess, just if there's no objection, we'll direct to the, committee 75. will be
75
cash.
is, works for me, makes it easier for us.
Exactly.
Thanks, Roberto, for clarifying the stats. Appreciate
And
it.
the line item it's coming out of is
I don't remember.
maintenance.
I think we were discussing between maintenance or the CIP line item.
Maintenance, if we have it, man, don't touch
Yeah,
CIP.
we do have options where to, yes.
Sorry I spoke up
So
too
you
much.
know, it's just,
Yeah, yeah.
That got blurted out, I'm sorry.
No, that's a good
We
question.
figured it out, and I actually honestly don't remember where we pulled it from.
No, we were discussing it, and actually, this is around the same time we also came to the conclusion that the town, the election, we won't have to pay for the special election. and we were saving some money on the completion of the town center project as well. So there are funds there.
so that just would require another amendment, but that's down the road.
Do that at the end of the year.
Yeah. Okay, let's get moving here. We're already 2 hours in.
Really?
Signatory of the bank accounts. I guess we got to discuss who.
Who do we have now?
Not me.
Who do we have now?
So if you, can I?
Go
Okay.
ahead, Roberto.
So
Just scratch
this is brought this was brought up because due to the changes that's about to happen by the end of the month, we currently have the mayor, a finance liaison, and the town manager as the signers. Though we only need two, it's always good to have that third person for in case someone's
Goes on vacation.
is on vacation or is not able to or sick, whatnot. So this is more of a preemptive conversation just for you guys to have because we do have some time, but to ask council to start having a discussion as to who they would want to have that as a third person. Could be another person from staff. It cannot be me.
Yes.
So it will most likely, if anyone, it would probably be the clerk of council. If we were looking at someone in staff.
Could drive down here and do it.
Who's that?
I think Councilman Moore should have to do it. We can have another.
Let me drive down here. I live here.
Complain about the, not knowing about things, because he'll be
Only
signing the
if I
checks.
get to approve the attorney's one.
You can sign those checks, you can be my guest on those.
That's
So-
open for review at any time.
It makes sense
to me
I hate looking at them, to be
How about
honest
if we
with you.
put that up for thought and discuss it next week? Make a decision next week?
Yeah, I'm
I'm
good.
good with the town clerk if the
Me
town
too.
clerk's
Town
good
clerk?
with it.
Is the town clerk good with it? I'm fine. Without objection?
There we go, without objection.
Yeah,
We'll make the
having
town
it in
clerk
the town
third
office.
person.
Basically, the town clerk, the liaison, and the mayor.
Yeah.
And what's this, the signatories on, what's their limit?
There isn't one.
There has to be a limit for two signatories.
So the limit
Oh,
is
you mean, okay.
1,000, anything over 1,000 and higher requires two signatures.
Oh, yeah.
Anything below that is just one signature. But once again, these do get reviewed. We have a process. We have a process where it gets entered through me or through Emily Huffman. I'll verify them. Then it goes through the finance liaison weekly meeting. They verify them. Then the mayor as well and the town manager currently verifies them as well. So there is a process.
Internal controls.
I think it would be fine with the town clerk. If she's okay with it and has a consistent signature.
And checks do get yanked out of the file folder with big question marks and Post-it notes written on them. Like, what is this?
Yeah. Some good checks and balances.
That's what we want.
I think it is, honestly, I think it is better than having another council member. That's gonna
Oh,
get,
absolutely.
that's gonna get changed in the next,
Well,
12
technically,
months.
we have another council member. We have two council
Yeah,
members.
two council members, no more than two. You
Yeah.
don't want to have three on it.
I agree.
Okay,
I wouldn't ask for
So,
it.
Mr. Mayor, this doesn't need more discussion.
no.
Can we act on it tonight? And
Well,
strike-
just,
we
we
just did.
directed it, yeah. No objection, we direct. Okay,
Go ahead. Yep. That means we got to change all that paperwork too.
Yeah, and
Yes.
Chris, please don't take this any wrong way, but is this something you guys want to enact now, get the process going now, or should we wait till January 1st?
I would do it now.
do it now.
Start doing it now.
You never know what the bank situation's gonna be, so at your
Do it now.
earliest convenience,
Okay,
I would
so
put it that way.
I just want to be clear with that, because I already have talked to the branch managers and staff there. They're just ready for me to let them know when the paperwork should be ready. It will require for you all to, sign paperwork once again.
Yeah.
I'll be a pain in the butt, I know, but I'll try to get it.
At your earliest
That's why we're
convenience.
here,
Okay.
before we go on family leave.
Okay.
Okay, next item, the meeting schedule.
Good evening, council.
All right.
I have, given you the 2022 tentative meeting dates. I do have a couple questions, particularly regarding December's, work session. The reason why your agenda's so thick tonight is because we were hoping to get everything covered so that we would not have a December 27th work session meeting.
I move to cancel the December 27, 2021 work session.
I second that.
Any discussion?
The other, if you scroll down, typically, if a state or federal holiday falls on a meeting night, whether it be a work session or a regular council meeting, it's scheduled to the following night, which would be Tuesday. That would reflect Memorial Day, 4th of July, and Labor Day. The other question comes into effect on, in your October work session,
That makes sense.
which is Halloween. If you would want to just go ahead and move that to,
Tuesday, April 1.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
I'd like to go trick-or-treating with my kiddo,
Yeah.
so I'd appreciate it, but.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, if you just want to produce it in final form, we'll just
How about,
sprinkle holy water on it next week.
it's looking like the work session next year will be on the 26th. So will that, are we addressing work sessions in here or just the meetings?
Both.
both.
Okay,
You
so
see
we got it the
Oh,
The,
27th.
the work session, you mean the December work session?
Yeah,
December
that's
27th.
27th.
I have it as
Okay.
December 27th because the holidays fall,
On a weekend.
Christmas Eve falls, I believe, on a Saturday, Christmas Day falls on Sunday, so we will be taking Friday and Monday off. So that's why your work session is scheduled for Tuesday, the 27th.
27th and 2022.
So, yeah, keep your eye on that one for next year, and we might have to cancel that one too.
Mr. Mayor, there's a motion on the floor. Duly seconded.
And duly seconded. Okay, so we're going to enact this, okay?
No, I meant just this next work session for this year, yeah.
Yeah.
So anybody have discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Absolutely works for me. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Can you just bring us the schedule for the December meeting with the program? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have a full, the meeting schedule ready for you for next week.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kim.
Okay, next on the list, personnel policy and compensation plan survey.
Yes, so what I wanted to do is basically just provide you guys with an update of where the personnel policy is. There's significant things that have been added, most of which have been pulled definitions of, for disability, reasonable accommodations, equal employment opportunity, that entire section, as well as harassment section, the recruitment and selection as well. All this stuff has been significantly overhauled based on the insurance company's recommendations for these different types of policies. This by no means is complete. However, as Roberto mentioned, this is not something that I'm going to be able to complete. So I just wanted to provide you guys with an update of where it is and some of the items that we've discussed. And then if you go to the very end, where So if you go to packet page 240, this is the old town compensation plan that was established in 2009 and 10. And based on those studies, we tried to get the same information from those same localities and provide the 40% spread from the minimum to the maximum, as well as the midpoint. And if you go to package page 243, as you can tell, Dumfries did not provide that information. However, all the other localities did. And that is where you'll find the average for the different positions. If you just go, the titles are on the top, and if you just go straight down, you'll see the average, as well as that 40% range. So, like I said, this is just a status for you guys. So it's not complete, and it won't be able to be completed, but you're not starting from the previous one as well.
Yep, so what out of this document has been vetted? Has anything been vetted?
Vetted, no. At this point, no. That was something that we wanted to wait until the document was completed before we really sent it out to get vetted instead of piecemealing it. But like I said, significant portions of these different policies. So when you're looking at like the recruitment and selection or the harassment section, that's pulled specifically from the insurance company. So that's, if there was a situation, if you're using their policy, that is better. And it's also free. So my recommendation is once this does get to the finalized point, you send it to the insurance company, Versa, because they will review it and provide comments free of charge instead of sending it to the town attorney. And then, of course, they're going to have different people look at it, and it's going to cost more than the insurance company doing it.
Is there any way to indicate that in like a note column of when it applies or when it's coming straight from, when it has authority behind it, like the insurance company?
So you're talking about like the different policies? Yeah, so that's something that some places have kind of done, where how it's indicated is kind of in the policy or procedure, that it'll kind of do it like a time and date stamp. So it'll be like provided by, and like a little asterisk, provided by Versa,
Right.
on such and such date. And then this way you have a little bit of, like you said, that bite to it that says,
Yeah.
well, this is what the insurance company had as of 2020, if that's when they provided it, even if we pulled it in 2021.
Okay.
So we can,
footnote it.
Yeah, like a footnote. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, that's something that,
Just in case if I have a question about it, then if I see the footnote, oh, let me scratch my question. Because it's coming, it has that authority behind it. I have two questions. It's on page 208, I'm sorry, 205, packet page 205. And there are two acronyms here, LGU and CAO. That is not explained in the document what they are.
What page again?
CAO is Chief Administrative Officer, and LGO,
LGU.
I will have to find that.
Context?
This is for employment development, employee development, education leave. It's policy for LGU to encourage employees to obtain. Yeah, I need to, like I said, this is not by any means a finalized product. This is just, I wanted to provide it to you guys so everybody knows it's getting worked on, but there's still quite a bit that needs to be done. But like I said, I'll verify the LGU acronym for you.
Thank you.
Oh,
You're looking up LGU?
Could be something copied from another town or somewhere else.
And that's where I want to pull up their policy and see if that's
Lancaster Government Union, something like that.
and that's what I'm saying. So I'll pull up that specific, the employee development, and see, because I know we have different, education pieces and stuff, but it wasn't really defined in the personnel policy. So that was, the goal is to better define it. But
I think I may have the answer.
Liberal Geotech University.
Local government unit, it's not a person, it's us.
So, like I said, I can always update that. And the smaller edits like that, I'd be more than happy to make so that, like I said.
So in other words,
I would just
LGU
define it somewhere, it's apparently the insurance company's acronym for jurisdictions.
Right. So actually, it's Town of Haymarket.
Yeah. That's exactly. So like I said, I can change the LGU to Town of Haymarket.
That's the only question I had initially, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
What are we doing with community garden?
I don't know. Huh? Are we good with this?
Yeah, let's move on.
Just very briefly wanted to say, still working with Nadia and the town attorney on the community garden agreement. I'm waiting on Nadia to give me some more information regarding her organization, some details we need to put into an agreement. I'm working on a draft agreement, and that'll be sent over to the town attorney. So that's really the only update. I just wanted to keep everybody aware of what was going on and see if there were any questions.
Are we reviewing access in the sense of, you know, do we have pathways for trucks to get back there if trucks are needed? And what their restrictions are about bringing trucks in or any of that type of stuff? Are we addressing that?
So that information would be included in the agreement. Right now, how it's set up is they could, if they needed to bring a larger truck in, they could go in the gravel driveway where you would go up to the playground, use the playground to kind of back in up in front of the garage. That's all gravel and an area that could be driven on. But I would notify them that you can only get so close.
Because I'm assuming everything's been purged from it in the sense of septic and well, so we don't have to worry about any type of septic fields
That's
or pipes
correct.
to get crushed.
The last septic tank that I was aware of on that property was crushed in 2019 or 2018.
2018. When we moved the house, you mean?
No. The house was in 2016.
The house was moved in 16. We came across a minor issue with the septic and ended up crushing that and remedying that in 2019. Could have been late 2018, but it's 2018 or 2019 that was located and taken care of.
Was there a leak? Just kidding. So, well, Emily, you meant it was fixed?
Yes,
So-
it was fixed. That was completely fixed, taken care of, no issues.
So no one can, if someone drives on it, it's not an issue?
Correct, and that's not in the location where they would drive. It was located in a different location. There's a gravel driveway that they can access, and there's no issues whatsoever.
Okay, yeah, just
Did
want to
that
make sure
answer?
that we're aware of all that stuff.
So because they can't back up,
Right.
are they gonna hit it?
Okay,
No.
any questions for Emily on?
Thank you.
Okay, audio, visual,
That's your baby.
yeah, it is.
I was going to say, as you guys can see, we got the two quotes in, one from CTSI for $29,253.30, and the other one is from Acuity Audiovisual for $27,868.81. The only real difference, if you guys looked at it, you could see CTSI did allow for a little bit more flexibility with the training and warranty and like the assistance. That's actually a gentleman who came and presented, where Acuities is basically a 1 year on the manufacturer. So if this stuff breaks, they will replace it based on manufacturer warranty. So really, that's what you're talking about, is that extra year of additional support worth the difference.
Okay, any questions?
Is there a side-by-side comparison?
The additional year of tech support?
Go ahead, Chris.
I'm just asking if there's a side-by-side comparison with the type of units that each is proposing.
If you want, I can print them out, and then we can put them side by side.
I guess side-by-side, that's not side-by-side.
So I guess the question is, are both proposals comparable other than the additional?
In terms of the equipment's functionality and capacity, yeah. I would suggest everybody look a little closer at this then between now and next week. I suddenly just saw something that I didn't notice earlier.
And that was?
Respect to cameras.
Ken, you have anything you want to talk about on this one?
Well, we tried to get the base package. We looked at this before. We did go with an integration in which you can use the a built-in projector. We did get a separate item for carts with monitors on them, but we don't intend on doing that at this time. But everything is going to be enhanced, so I guess a question for you, Chris. The added mics, we got all of our corded mics, which will be reused, and then we got the 8 remote mics. Do we got an extra
I believe
8
it's
channels?
4.
4 mics?
4 mics like these, so that staff won't have back and forth. Well, we could have one that would be up there, one would be for the town attorney, and then we would have 2, instead of when Martin's here, everybody in this whole row sharing the 1 microphone.
Yeah, but we will have the capacity with all of our digital channels to have all these mics on at the same time?
Yes. I mean, I spoke to them specifically about that when we were asking about additional microphones, and that's where, with what we have, they should be able to provide with the 4.
Yeah, which is good, because I do think we only have an 8-channel digital processor in there right now, or it might even be analog. I don't know if it's digital.
I'm sure there's a new processor in here, but I don't have the specs on it, so, but I would
Yeah.
assume it's gonna cover that.
Yeah, I think it included all of it, if I remember correctly. But truly, this gives us an extra video channel as well to integrate into the streaming, so that we can get the crisp presentations to the audience, as opposed to having a copy of something that is being projected to the white screen. It's just a better package in general.
Which is the better package?
They're both equivalent, but I mean, the capabilities of what this upgrade will handle.
Right.
So, Mr. Mayor, you have vetted the equipment list.
Yes,
And so what the equipment that is here is the equipment that, in your best opinion, will improve what we have, but we can build on it later. It's not something that's obsolete, whatever they're proposing.
that is correct. Everything will be pretty much new or fully upgraded with software on anything that didn't need to be replaced as new.
Because you can buy new equipment, but it's still obsolete.
Yes.
Okay.
And it will be obsolete in a matter of time, just given how,
Yeah, but it might already be obsolete. Because it's on the shelf, so hey, let's get rid of it because it's on the shelf. I'm just wondering, because I don't have the technical
Right.
ability to look at the model number of the item that they're proposing here, 8 microphone wireless access point transceiver.
Yeah, I got to look closer at the list, but I think everything is fully digital at this point. Right now, we're in integration between analog and digital.
Right.
So I think this system is completely digital, which is nicer.
And both of
We
them-
won't have any mics that are dropping, like any of these wireless mics won't be dropping, because those were analog previously.
Yeah, these are analog. So,
Didn't realize that.
And the newer mics will all be digital, and so.
So I'm seeing a difference of $1,384 between the 2 bids. And so what are we getting for the additional?
so CTSI, if you remember in his proposal, let me see if I can find it.
more tech support, correct? For a
Support
longer
and
period of
training.
time?
Exactly. The training time and the additional tech support is what CTSI provides for that additional year, where I couldn't find anything comparable with Acuity. It was manufacturer, they're going to put it in, and if it breaks
Yeah.
within a
It's
year,
on you.
they'll help you out, but other than that,
So
That's right,
that would put their higher cost bid, so to speak, in a better light.
CTSI
Gives us-
gives you a value add of customer support, training, as well as turnaround on getting a tech out here to find out the problem.
Right.
The other
And that's
one,
important.
you buy it, you put it in, and it's yours.
And that's
And
where,
it's-
if you look on CTSI, if you, starting on page, hold on packet page 263, it talks about, you know, the on-site support. So calls are scheduled within 2 business days. And, you know, then you start talking about the on-site technicians are also supported by the CTSI help desk. So then that gives us an additional, if we need to call the help desk to try and quick navigate some stuff. So like I said, that's where some of the value add
My
comes from.
understanding is there is no equivalent in the other contract, correct?
Exactly.
So
Okay.
from a procurement perspective, it is superior. Is that what you're saying? That's your recommendation?
My recommendation would be to go with CTSI. Not only is it the current company that we have right now, but that's the other thing is that their system that is installed right now is what they installed several years ago.
I mean, to me, the tech support alone is worth the additional. I mean, just because,
I appreciate
especially
that.
since we managed to break everything that we touch, so.
Training is key.
Training is big. Yeah, that's good for me.
Deal with it next week.
Any questions to my left?
I'm just saying.
I asked my questions when the guy was here.
Okay.
I agree.
And then, so the only thing, just a reminder, this is all CARES Act. So that's where CARES Act will be facilitating this function. So we can carry it to Monday, and we'll be ready to go.
And the rest of that money be used for?
The Shop Small event.
Shop Small,
Yes.
yeah.
I'm good.
Okay, no time requirement to get that decided on today, or,
We have to do it next week.
okay,
Just a reminder, the CARES Act money has to be expended by December 31st.
You almost gave Roberto a coronary by saying that.
okay. The strategic initiative, I think that was on just because I said we need to do this before the budget discussions. I think we already kind of put in our priorities for the budget discussions. I don't think anything will be needed on this at this time. Plus, we're a little bit too soon in our, at least my vision of how we're going to operate and execute, that this is a little bit too soon for this to come out. Does anybody have any comments on that before I close this one out? Okay. Now we'll go on to the organizational chart.
Yes, so in the same discussion that we had the strategic initiative, council had asked staff to provide an organizational chart that we recommend. So I'll just point you to the document. The only change is Emily had her annual evaluation after Haymarket Day, and you guys will see closer to budget time. But my recommendation is that we promote her to deputy town manager, as well as provide some additional budget and management experience, just because we are a small town. But I think she is absolutely deserving of it, and I think that it's going to benefit the town in the long run. So you will see that is the only thing that might be a surprise, but we are working on it. And like I said, we did the annual evaluation, and I figured this would be an opportunity to tell council my recommendation. Now, of course, it's y'all's ultimate decision, but like I said, this was my professional recommendation. So, and then the only other item on here is, I know we had discussed about the chief reporting to the town manager. However, I think how it's currently organized with the police liaison and everything going on, I think we would just better define the items, the specific administrative items. So if it's signing off on the timesheet, if it's, you know what I'm saying? So it would be, those couple items be clearly defined is how I would personally recommend that relationship working in the org chart. But like I said, this is just the recommendation, and ultimately it's you guys' decision. And I don't know if you can see, but if you scoot over, BZA is all the way kind of over in the corner. So you, just so y'all don't miss it.
I mean, they actually are a function of the circuit court.
Yeah, they don't
Correct.
fall within the town structure other than payment, but
However, in the county, for some reason, I guess the budgeting side of it is through the planning department.
that makes sense. You've got to account for them somewhere in that budget. They've got, their budget's done by department and ours isn't.
And the liaisons are, it's assumed that they're in the town council.
And this is one where we worked on the specific orientation, just the council, ARB, planning, BZA. When it comes to regard to the liaisons, personally, I don't think staff should be the one to dictate what liaisons there are or not. So that's where, you know, of course, this is the starting point, and then you guys can just add the liaisons.
I don't even think it's necessary. I mean,
Not
it's-
really. It's
No.
assumed in the town council, I would think.
There's
It's
no
we
additional
assumed in the
authority
descriptive.
anyway, so, you know.
Yeah, but we do got to, I guess, figure out how we want to identify, you know, any type of business outreaches or any type of community outreaches. That should probably be in the in the chart. But it's a step. Any questions?
No, sir?
Not a question, just an observation. I think the justification for the deputy town manager is valid as far as the salary adjustments, but I think the title of zoning administrator should remain, because it gives
You have, it's a position we're required to have, so it's got to be in there.
yes, but
Same thing with a planner.
Yeah, land plan.
right, but the deputy town manager, it goes, it's not the title, it goes without saying that person is the deputy whenever the town manager is not there. That's the person who, because if not, what happened in the past is if the town manager is not there, if he's, if the position is vacant or he's on vacation, the mayor steps in
Is that
at
the
that
town
position.
manager or the acting town manager?
Hey, be careful. So,
That's
in
gonna
this
be a
case,
subject in a
that's a good
minute.
one, but in this case, we know that her position, it's approved by council to know that if the manager is on vacation or the position is vacant, she is the acting town manager, but that is not her title.
Right.
That is an appointment. So what we're discussing here, when you look at it, all of these are appointments. I'm sorry, these are the positions.
Right.
The acting or deputy town manager is an appointment that she carries in the absence of the town manager, whether he's on vacation or the position is vacant. But I think for our town, looking at a five-staffed position, I hope I'm explaining this properly. Having a town manager, zoning administrator, town treasurer, town clerk, that in itself describes all the functions.
Right.
So if someone calls in to say, hey, I have this problem, zoning issue, building issue, whatever, oh, let me put you on to the deputy town manager. No, let me put you to the zoning administrator.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to expand on this a little bit, but yeah. And I've got some thoughts on how to do it.
Well, but, I mean, the other thing is, just popped in my head, FOIA officer. Right? I mean, right now, it's Chris,
Kim,
Kim,
Kim.
I think.
It will be.
will be Kim.
Which it should be pretty much the clerk of the
I
town.
can't keep track
anyways.
anymore.
So this can be massaged.
Yeah.
Yes.
essentially.
Okay.
Thank you, Stafford.
And yes, this is good.
And just so you're aware, Middleburg actually does it where the deputy town manager is also the town planner and zoning administrator.
Yeah, that's Middleburg.
So,
I mean, it's part of the job description, too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Well,
To a certain-
yes and no, to some degree, yes, but.
It may not be. The most qualified person for that position could be the town treasurer, and the council may decide later on that, you know what, the town treasurer is going to be the acting or the deputy town manager for a season so it is up to the council to decide on the deputy position. So, for this season, I totally agree that would be something, but it's an appointment. But it needs to be, as you mentioned, it needs to be massaged, it needs to be, thank you for your recommendation. We just need to discuss it some more. My big thing is that I'm just glad that there's not a direct line being drawn from the chief of police to the town manager, because that was my pet peeve.
Do we have the documentation of the review? You have it all documented? Okay.
Okay, any more questions? Okay, we'll move on. Closed session time.
Closed session, Mr. Mayor, I move that the town council convene in closed session to discuss the following. As permitted by Virginia Code Section 2.2, 3711A1, personnel matter involving assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific public officers, appointees, or employees of the town, specifically dealing with the office of the town manager, and as permitted by Virginia Code Section 2.2, 3711A3, a matter involving disposition of publicly held real property, specifically involving 15020 Washington Street, wherein discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the town's bargaining position.
Okay. So we all set to go into closed session, all in favor?
Aye.
Let's take a bio break and then we'll start.
We need Roberto, if we
Okay, we're back in open session. I guess we'll go through the attestation.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the council certify that in the closed session just concluded, nothing was discussed except the matter or matters specifically identified in the motion to convene in closed session and lawfully permitted to be discussed in a closed session under the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act as cited in that motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Pierce.
Aye.
Pasanello.
Aye.
Tater.
Yes.
Thurston.
Yes.
Ramirez.
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, without objection, I would direct the mayor to proceed as discussed.
Second.
Okay, any objections?
Nope. I didn't need the second, but you did that.
Okay, I will go ahead and go through it.
Excellent.
Okay, next item. No one's going to jump on that one, huh?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
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 What's the score?
Last I saw it was 17-9.
Oh, okay.